reaction to all of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Patrick Meagher, Dustin Swedelson, VSiN Live.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. We're back, baby, and so is the NBA and NHL. Just quickly get you set up, and then we'll get the program started. Hope you're doing well on, what is it, Tuesday? Hell yeah, 888 Mad Dog 688-623-3646. I will, just because I think it's my duty, I will warn all of you early. Listen, something's going on in Dustin's life. I don't know what it is, but he is extra zesty today. I wrote down one quote. When it comes to, and I've heard his Soto take, and it's not groundbreaking, but he said, quote, everyone is stupid about the Soto stuff. So that's a tease. And then secondly, if you know Eric Lindquist and his family, now Eric Lindquist is a guest of ours that's been coming on the program for a while. He won't be on the program ever again. And part of the reason is he bailed on us last week. Dustin followed up, and Dustin is a very good communicator, a la Adam Schefter. He makes contacts. He's good with reaching out to people. Too smart, Dustin. I just played you. He reaches out to people. He builds networks. And this gentleman refused to write Dustin back, Eric Lindquist. So wherever you are, Eric, dead to Dustin, dead to the program. God bless with your little website and your little Twitter account, because you won't be on this program again. And it wasn't my decision. It was Dustin's decision. And I believe the quote was, F him. So just an idea of what we're dealing with as we open up the program. Now, looking good at the Win Studios, SiriusXM, the nicest studios I've seen in a long time. A nice little wide shot. There it is. That's not a take on your structure. We take a look at the big guy. Before we welcome him in officially, though, we will tell you the Panthers and Hurricanes get going coming up in just about 56 minutes. So the Eastern Conference Finals is going to be very good. The Panthers are the better team. Carolina is favored by $1.30 today. The Florida Panthers are in a terrible spot when it comes to sports betting. You're looking for spots. So what did the Panthers do on Sunday? They traveled up to Toronto. They whooped that Maple Leaf ass. Shout to Mary. It was nice to get to a Game 7 if you're Canadian. It's nice to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals if you're an American. So the Florida Panthers then traveled back to Florida. Now they're up in Raleigh a couple of days later. It's not a great spot, and Carolina's laying $1.30. Equally, as the big guy, always give him credit for these conversations, especially on a day like today. The Thunder are in a bad spot because the Thunder closed out Game 7. Now, this was at home, so it's not the same as the Florida Panthers, but closed out a Game 7 against Denver while the Timberwolves come in rested. That number is sitting around 7-ish. It had dropped from 7.5, so maybe bettors starting to agree with our take here. We are going to give you reasons why the Minnesota Timberwolves can not only beat the favored Oklahoma City Thunder, but can win a championship in the first hour here as well. A little housekeeping as we get started. The Soto stuff I mentioned we're going to get to. We've got Samich, part of the family, joining the program coming up here in just a little bit. It does appear, as I mentioned yesterday, it is spring and love is in the air. And congratulations to Bill Belichick and Jordan Hootson, as they have apparently become engaged, which, as a person that enjoys love, thinks love is a wonderful thing, I am happy for the young couple. A little bit, here's what I would say about the tush push. And I was thinking about this because I was thinking about leading the show with it. I'm just playing I wasn't. But this is a blind spot for me. Full transparency. I'm unmoved. I'm uninspired. And again, anybody that does want to discuss it, I have that. Do you? That is not. But if I were to give you my opinion, Dustin Swedelson, and those of you that are paying attention to this esteemed program, if I were to give you my opinion of the tush push, I would say I like it. I don't like it. And then you would say, oh, I feel moved. And then I would take calls and you would say, what's the deal? And then you would give me your like it or don't like it take. And then 7 months from now, we can see the tush push or don't see the tush push. But sitting here on May 20th, it's inconsequential to me. So, speaking of which, the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese conversation continues. So I thought I'd open there. I'm just playing. I'm not going to open there, but I will say if you are involved, and again, I told you yesterday, whether it's the Barstool people, whether it's Ryan Clark, whether it's RG3, just losers. Up and down, straight across. It is a subjugation of ethics if you get involved in this type of conversation. And one thing I would say is go back home, wherever you come from, and sit in front of your parents and understand the trauma they downloaded in you to get involved as an adult in a conversation like this. Grow up. It's nonsense. Sometimes you need to hear from an adult. And being damn close to 50, I can talk like one. We say hello to the big guy who the body language isn't great. And I don't know if it's the pep talks at home, but when I wait too long to bring him in, you can feel the anger that starts to bubble over there. Pardon me, as it's been now 7 minutes as we say hi.
I have a lot to say.
Okay, well,
can
I do show or
which item would you like to begin with first?
I'm interviewing you. You were my producer 10 minutes ago. Now I'm interviewing you.
You threw a lot at me right now. Which part of that would you like to begin with?
We are going to. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll go through line by line what I just did, and you can give a quick take, and then we will save those conversations for later because then we're going to jump into the betting on tonight's games. Okay, I'll simply start with your quote on the Soto mess, and that is everyone. I don't know if you're talking about Steve Torrey or the callers, but you said everyone is stupid.
Yeah, everyone meaning Yankee fans. Yankee fans are the ones making a big deal about this.
So you are talking about Steve Torrey.
No, well, yeah, he's part of the problem, a minor part of the problem. But Yankee fans are the ones obsessed with the Soto stuff. He wanted to be a Yankee. If he wanted to be a Yankee, he would be a Yankee. He's a Met. They're saying he's a mercenary. He went for the most money. The Yankees have built a lifetime of going and paying players as mercenaries to come over there. Also, Juan Soto was a New York Yankee for 1 season. So they're the ones building up this story, all this negative publicity about Juan Soto, because they're bitter he chose someone else in the end. And all the gossip and all the stuff coming out, Michael Kay and Bob Clappish, who I didn't know was still alive.
Hey,
these guys reporting
that ever listened to a word that Michael Kay had to say.
Michael Kay is reporting nonsense about Soto's unhappy as a Met. He wanted to be a Yankee, but his family made him choose the Mets. This is the gossip I'm talking about. Who are you hearing that from? Who is your source? That's preposterous. Bob Clappish had a report. He says that there are people in the, quote, Mets hierarchy concerned about Juan Soto's attitude. This is all gossip.
How do you know if that's true or false?
We don't. It sounds crazy though. You know what I care about? Is he producing? And he's starting to produce. He wasn't producing a ton. This off the field stinks. The off the field stuff's irrelevant. Is he hitting? You want to have an issue with him not running out the ball, not running out the fly ball that ended up being a single off the green monster? The play where LeMahieu made a diving stop? Totally fair. This other stuff, he wanted to be a Yankee. It's just they're upset because the relationship ended not on their terms.
Okay, confirmed. Everybody is stupid. You are smart. I'll give you a check mark there. I'm not really sure what you said. I think he just said that you're glad he's a Met.
None of this is real. None of it matters.
I mean, he is a loafer. He is a loafer.
Sure. Okay, but when Manny Ramirez was a loafer, we said, it's Manny being Manny. When Robinson Cano, a Yankee, was a loafer, we said, man, he's so smooth. He doesn't have to hustle that hard. But Juan Soto does it in not a Yankee uniform, and it's a big deal to everyone.
Right. Yeah. No, totally. Pinstripes. Am I right?
Slimming.
I'm afraid to get I don't want your take on Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, but I did call it a subjugation of ethics. Do you have a take?
They drew 2.7 million viewers over the weekend. So you and I are in the minority when it comes to that conversation. There's not much they can do to get my attention to make me watch their games live, but I congratulate them on getting people locked in and tuned in and caring about that.
Yeah. No, that's actually a good point. And by the way, cancel culture's over. Just because I don't watch the WNBA, you cannot cancel me. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't watch tennis either.
I like tennis. Let's see. What else did I bring up? I brought up Bill. You're in love. It's a wonderful thing. I brought up Bill Belichick being in love, and I congratulated the young couple on their engagement and forthcoming nuptials.
Hey, she's got some control over him. I think it's one of the most impressive things we've ever seen. A guy who was so all about one thing his entire life took his eye off the fastball because another thing came into his life, and I give her a lot of credit. Put it in a museum, which she's able to do with him.
Yeah. Put it in the Louvre. Am I right? Okay, we're off to a flying start here. I did say that the Panthers are in a terrible spot tonight in Carolina. Did you have a take there?
Well, that's an interesting goalie matchup because Carolina's got the hotter goalie, but Bobrovsky's been through this before. So I think that's the key that I'm looking at in that series right now. I know the rest advantage going one way, but to me, it's the goalies. How can they show up in game one?
I agree. I agree. Could be an under series if we're thinking about Carolina in that respect. By the way, Carolina does have a tremendous home ice. They are favored tonight. And the other series, I did say not a great rest spot for the Thunder. As you know, in the market, the Thunder of the final four remaining are far and away maybe $1.80 minus 180 favorite to win a championship. And they're heavy favorites over $3 to win this series against the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, minus 340, and that number makes no sense because the Minnesota Timberwolves are playing better basketball right now today over the course of the last couple months as well than the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the Timberwolves are going to end up winning this series and going to the finals.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about why we think the Timberwolves absolutely can win that series. Absolutely. So you bet the series, you bet the Timberwolves, correct?
Plus 270.
Plus 270 feels like a good number. Hasn't that dipped a little bit?
No, it's plus 270 right now. I have not placed my official series wager on, but I will do it before tip-off tonight. I am on Timberwolves plus 7.5. That number's on the moves. Also want to point out the total. This thing opened 213.5. We're at 219 right now for the total on this game. So people are expecting a lot of points tonight.
Yeah, that is absolutely. And you can check out our write-ups and our picks for $19 through August 1st over at VSiN.com/subscribe. Use the promo code SIRIUS. A tremendous way, even the big guys, props and everything. You see it there on your screen on YouTube. Good job, Brian. YouTube.com/VSiN Live. And then one more as far as house cleaning, a little drama with a guest that you did like. His name is Eric Lindquist. Yeah. You no longer like him.
Well, this is something I notice. So one part of my experience in this world was booking guests from various sports, from all walks of life. Even on here on Mad Dog Sports Radio. No. But, and then when we started getting into gambling more, we started booking more betting people. And how is it that someone like, this might be a flex, but he's on the network all the time. Someone like Ian Eagle, who's traveling around the country, when you reach out to him and he replies back with he can or can't join and then gives you options and lays out the calendar and is responsive with the check-ins, how come someone as busy as that, doing as much as he has, calling multiple sports at once, how come he's easy to just get back to you and say, yep, good to go, confirmed? But people in like the betting space, you're going right up to the minute. They're too busy to reply. They have too much going on. They got to update their algorithms, and they can't just hit you with a yes, I'm good for today, or no, I'm not good for today. That's just what confuses me.
I don't disagree. You do have to understand that oftentimes if you're dealing with people in the betting space, you're going to be dealing with degenerates. And degenerates don't generally have, I guess, the strictest morals. So being prompt or replying to you probably isn't at the top of his list. He's probably a how do I say it, loser?
Yeah, that's the vibe I get. And it's unfortunate. And the reason the anger is happening because I thought it wasn't like that. I thought I found someone.
Expectations will get you every time.
That's on me. That's on me. If we're being fair, that's on me.
Don't ever expect anything. Don't ever label anything, big guy. It'll get you through life. You don't have expectations, and you're going to be just fine. But F him was harsh before the program.
Well, there was also an element where anytime he would like a bet, I would get a barrage of texts explaining why he liked the bet so much. And I played the game. I was like, dude, that's a great idea. Like where your head's at. This is awesome. But I just can't get a yes, I'm good. No, I'm not good for today. That's all.
Right. So he gone. Like a famous home run call. Eric Lindquist, he gone. R.I.P. It was a good couple of months on the program.
It was. That's the unfortunate part. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, he was fine. Okay, well, we move forward, and we'll see over the next, 2 hours and 44 minutes if we can get the big guy in a good way. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888 623 3646. We are going to have conversation like what set up the Soto conversation, what is beyond the Soto drama. It doesn't just have to do with the Yankees. Of course, we'll get to that. We mentioned Samich is going to join. Mike Samich, who handed out over at VSiN.com the Super and the Kentucky Derby, also handed out the winner, journalism, and the Preakness. He'll join us to talk, obviously, basketball, hockey, and the Belmont, which is coming up in less than 3 weeks as we sit here today. Okay, so we should start with the basketball. And as far as the basketball is concerned, the Final Four, maybe you can grab the series prices as they're updated today, Dustin, for me, and we'll start in the West. I love the two matchups. I really do. I think it's quite exciting that we didn't end up in the East with Boston and Cleveland, and a little, obviously, rematches from the past, but some young blood in the mix now with the Knicks and Pacers. But specifically talking about young blood, you have Minnesota back-to-back Western Conference Finals, but a young team led by a very young superstar in Anthony Edwards, and then equally a young, deep team and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Where is that series price right now?
Yeah, we've got OKC minus 340, Timberwolves plus 270 going the other way.
All right. So in the game tonight, you got 7.5 with Minnesota. It has now dipped. I saw 6s. I saw 6.5s earlier today. It looks like most are showing 7s across the board right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing as well. But the total's the story to me, just because we think about these two teams and the defense that they play, it going up from 213.5 to 219. That jumps out to me that people were betting the over like that. I guess the assumption would be Minnesota at times can be a little weird with the basketball and protecting it, and Oklahoma City turns all those turnovers into points consistently. We saw that in the Denver series a lot, so that would be why I think they're going over, but I like both these defenses a lot, so I'm a little bit surprised by that.
All right, maybe leaning an under there, and we are going to get to Minnesota coming up here on the program, but quickly, let's set up the East. Your Knicks, I think we're in agreement. I think this is a pick 'em. If I were to properly price the series, I would have Indiana as the favorite, but obviously you're going to be skewed with the home court. And yesterday the Knicks were sitting minus $1.40, so minus 140 to make $1, lay $1.40. Where are we sitting today?
Knicks minus 145, Pacers plus $1.25, and I'm actually with you, even though I'm a Knicks fan. I think Indiana is the deeper team. Indiana is capable of more consistent offense. They've been playing a lot better defense lately. Carlisle's a really good coach. They're unafraid. They have a slight rest advantage in this series as well, with their series with Cleveland getting done a few days before the Knicks and the Celtics. But what it comes down to, and what I think the market believes, is the difference is Jalen Brunson, and he's a closer, and he finds a way in the fourth quarter to make things happen. But I think the market's wrong, because Tyrese Halliburton's becoming a closer. This should be closer to a pick'em. These two teams are really close. I think this is going 7, and at the end of the day, I don't feel great about the Knicks in this matchup.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say this: the closer I want in the NBA. There's 3 of them. It's Steph, it's Jokic, and it is Brunson. However, the best closer in this postseason in particular has been Tyrese Halliburton.
Yep.
Halliburton has endless game winners across the first couple of rounds. And that point you just made is where I'm at with the Indiana Pacers. I think they're deep a la Oklahoma City. But I think with the advancement of Halliburton's game and confidence, I think that's where they have the edge. Again, the home court now yesterday, $1.40 on the Knicks, up a nickel, up to $1.45. So people are betting the Knicks apparently. I don't see it. The Knicks had to grind to get through the Pistons. And while game 6 was an ass whooping, I think that was more about the Celtics being deflated. My issue, and the issue I have with the Knicks, was what we saw in game 5 in Boston. It is weird as it is to say, with a Josh Hart and a Jalen Brunson and the Tibbs mystique, I think the tougher team in the series is the Indiana Pacers.
Oh yeah, Indiana's been they've been awesome for a couple months now, and they're finding their identity as a team. I think they're physical, and I'll add another name as to why I'm scared as a Knicks fan, and that's Karl Anthony Towns. This series comes down to Karl Anthony Towns. Now, in the regular season, he dominated this matchup with Indiana. They did not really have an answer for him, but he is so inconsistent where he can look like the best player on the floor one possession and the next one look completely lost. He wants to live out on the perimeter, but the reality is he's a 7-footer with a great touch at the basket who can dominate the glass. He needs to be down on the blocks a lot more. I don't mind him hitting and shooting the occasional three, but this series comes down to what Karl Anthony Towns wants to be. And that is a terrifying thought.
Yeah, he is. I'm not a fan. I also would say the Pacers have a distinct coaching advantage. Carlisle greater than Tibbs.
Well, think about a year ago. A year ago, Rick Carlisle played the refs perfectly. Remember, he had the quote, small market teams need a fair shot as well, something along those lines. And they got the whistle going in their favor for a couple games. I think from an X's and O's standpoint, what he's built in Indiana, they pressure you 94 feet. They're super aggressive offensively. They want to get down across half court as soon as they have the basketball. They want to get a shot up quickly, and the Knicks want to slow it down. I think they have an opportunity with Carlisle and his game plan with this roster to take the Knicks out of what they want to do and have to play Indiana style. And I don't know if they're really built for that up and down nature all game long. When Indiana is deeper, they can throw a second unit at them. They have backup point guards that can set other guys up, but also score themselves from the perimeter. And I just don't think the Knicks can match that if they're going to have to, use that type of energy for 4 quarters.
I hear you, brother. I think the Knicks are tired, and I think that's going to play out in the series. Truthfully, I don't think they're well conditioned.
And the Pacers are going to run.
And the Pacers are going to run them into the ground. I agree with that. The Pistons gave the Knicks a real push, and the Pistons shouldn't even have been on the same court. The Celtics in Game 5, it sticks in my craw. And the Pacers just have been awesome in the postseason. So I agree with you. I think while you are a Knicks fan and maybe a little bit of an emotional hedge in these games where you can play the Pacers and hope for your Knicks, bing bong, bebop, to win a series and make it to the finals. First time since the strike-shortened season, I believe it was, where they took on San Antonio.
Yeah. I've got 13-1 on the Knicks. I've got 28-1 on the Knicks to win it all. I don't feel good about it. I just don't. This is a bad matchup for them. I think Indiana is the antithesis of what the Knicks want to do as a team.
Yeah. So we'll dive into the Minnesota angle. Really fascinates me because I think on the board right now, Minnesota is the longest shot to win a championship. And a lot of that has to do with the series they're in right now, obviously with the expectations they don't advance past Oklahoma City. But Minnesota fascinates me. They've fascinated me more as the postseason has progressed. So when we come back, we'll discuss that. A lot on the table. The big guy, of course. And you mentioned that was more of an Iron Eagle appreciation. I mean, he's like the gentleman of sports media. If you had a kid in second grade, my assumption is he would speak to the kids' class. That's just who he is. So if you have a podcast, a random podcast that nobody's listening to, Eagle's going to give you time. Iron Eagle's just that type of guy. I told you the Iron Eagle story. We can go to break with this. The Iron Eagle story is I went to a Nets game with a friend. I literally was just like, hello, said hi to him. He asked me about my family. I don't know why. Asked me about my sisters, and I'm just like, okay, Mr. Eagle, call me Ian. All right, Ian. Well, I got one that's Kelly and one that's Melissa. All right. Maybe about a month later, we're back. We're back at the Barclays Center and milling about, pretending to be important down a broadcast row. We run into Iron Eagle. Iron Eagle says, Patrick, how are Melissa and Kelly? I said, brother, they're tremendous. More importantly, how did you remember that? Do you have some sort of wizardry? Because I hardly know your name, and you're famous. I'm not great with names. Some would say that's narcissism. But but you understand my point. Like, how would he remember a random nobody, me, and then people that are even more random nobodies to him, my sister's names? That's how
the only logical explanation I can come up with is that he's a guy who calls a lot of games. Like he'll have Monday Night Football on Westwood One, a Nets game on a Tuesday, then some random Thursday action in college hoops, and he's all over the place. My thought is, as he meets you, he's doing his own mental game notes and remembers your face. And every time he sees you, those game notes pop up with all the fun facts that would appear on the broadcast. That's the only way that makes sense.
You're probably right, but it's not like my sisters are like some lame 70-year-old that goes by like JT the Brick. You know what I mean? Like they're literal just names. It's not like
What?
So it's not a moniker.
Yeah, some random white girl names.
Yeah, totally white girl names. White girl names from Michigan. Shout to the Great Lakes state. When we return, Minnesota, Indiana, small market, and given what we're looking at as far as the Knicks, Oklahoma City, small market, but the conversation, obviously, Minnesota, can they or can't they? They've really come along in the playoffs. Now, we didn't get to see the full experience as far as the Golden State Warriors because Steph was out. However, they stood on their 10 toes, as they say, and handled their business, Dustin Swedelson. So when we come back, we'll tell you why Minnesota can not only beat Oklahoma City. By the way, great spot for Minnesota tonight. If you can get the 7, take it, eat it up. But we'll tell you why Minnesota can win a championship this year. Tremendous start. Do you feel better after getting all of that off your chest?
No, because I don't think this Soto thing's going away. And there is the off chance I get a text message. Hey, sorry, something happened to my phone and I just trashed someone. So there's always that window that could happen.
Yeah, and he did say he was having family issues. So I hope that everybody's good with the family. But did you see what happened? I immediately got your back. I said, he's gone. He's not on the show anymore.
I know.
So and
I appreciate you.
I got you.
Partners for almost 10 years now.
I got you, brother. Lindquist is but a memory to your boy. and by these gambling people, nobody's heard of you. Pull yourselves together. This is free pub. If we ask you to come on Mad Dog Sports Radio, that's kind of a good platform for you. Shake yourself.
Yeah, but also no would have been an acceptable answer.
Yeah, but you would have been bitter if you said no. You don't like being rejected.
No, well, yeah, that's therapy. And therapy was
yeah, no, I hear you, brother. I hear you. All right, Minnesota, can they or can't they? Also, your series predictions. Obviously, the Knicks get going tomorrow with the Pacers, a little favorite there as far as the Knickerbockers, and then Oklahoma City, a huge favorite. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. It is VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
This is about to get ugly, people. The newsletter, not ugly, over at VSiN.com/newsletter. If you want to get set up with some free picks and the day's betting menu, go to VSiN.com/newsletter. Billy D does a bang-up job with that every day. It's free, no obligation. You just enter your email address. A little uncomfortable smile from Dustin Swedelson as we welcome you back on Patrick Meagher, 888-MAD-DOG-6, 888-623-3646. Because when push comes to shove, he's just a nice guy. He'll talk tough. He doesn't like that smoke. And he's about to get some because we mentioned at the top of the program a guest that was pretty consistent for us named Eric Lindquist, who's a smart betting guy. And, I like the guy. I had no issues with him. And then today he got hit with an F him from the big guy because, listen, the guy literally just won't reply to Dustin. He was supposed to be on the program tonight. He didn't reply. Dustin's bitter. But Ryan Smith, who runs our YouTube, VSiN Live on YouTube, give us a sub, just sent us a note that people and tremendous listeners, so we appreciate all of you. Somebody just went and called out Eric Lindquist on Twitter based on what we just discussed. And as much as I know that Dustin is upset with Eric, he certainly doesn't want Eric to know that he's trashing him. And so I'm guessing that's not great for you.
Yeah, but at the same time, I still feel like I'm on the right side of the moral compass here. Like, I still did the right thing. I was just looking for a response. I was being his friend. I actually really liked him. We would actually text off the air regularly. So I think that's where my anger comes from, is I feel like I was duped and I was disrespected by someone that I thought I was closer with. That's all.
Yeah. That's what, social media does have, it's a dangerous thing because I think those that are on social, it really makes you feel as though you're friends with people that don't care about you. And, I meet people because you know them through a bot on social and they put out this purported personality and you think, oh, that person's lit. Oh, that person's got a lot going on. Sorry, I'm trying to kill a bug in my studio here. That person's lit. That person,
some like screens on your windows.
That person's got a lot going on because they're TikToking or they're Twittering. And generally they don't, because why would they be on Twitter or TikTok if they really had anything going on? And so now a fake friend became a friend, and now they're an enemy of yours. So that's a tough look for everybody involved.
Yeah, I do like the wording of the tweet that the listener wrote. You should probably not have blown off at the rap radio. Yikes. So is it talking about you missing the show or doing other things going on?
Well, the problem with that is that's the assumption is it's me.
Yeah, it's a valid point. You're getting caught in all of this.
Now, I don't look at Twitter, so I won't know what happens, but like to the listener that has our back, first off, I want to say thank you. But secondly, next time tag at Dustin Swedelson. I have nothing to do. I have nothing to do with this drama. If the guest shows up on the show, I interview them. If they don't show up on the show, I don't. It doesn't matter to me either way.
You know what's awkward is he has the Zoom link to join the show. What if he just joins at 6 o'clock? That would be really awkward for everyone involved. I'd have to eat some crow, I guess.
You are as you tell many people, you are the co-host of the show, but you are also still the producer of the show. Would you like some advice on producing the show?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that. Let's take some advice for Dustin on producing the show. This is Mike in the OC.
Oh,
who else?
What's up, buddy?
Do that. Look, by the way, don't forget May 31st. Be there, Be Square Hennessy.
Oh, I'll be there.
Up there.
I'm excited. Yeah, excited.
Also, what's up? Beetle and Decker are going too, by the way. They're excited.
I'm going to produce your call.
That's it. That's exciting. Looking forward to seeing Beetle and Decker. What's your advice for the big guy here with the program?
The deal, Doug. Listen, get rid of these people that don't care about you guys. They're just in there to plug their stuff, their little website, their little Twitter feed. Go with the loyalty. You know what you're talking about. You're talking about Tony's. You're talking about me. You're talking about the chat. You're talking about guys. We're here for you guys. Whatever you need it. Call us up. We'll do 10 minutes. I'll do 15 minutes. I'll do 20. Hell, I did 45 minutes with you. Are you kidding me? It's like
so wait, hold on. Just to get this straight. Instead of having guests on, your advice for this program is to have you on.
If you need to. It doesn't have to be me. It could be anybody. There's so many. Listen, I think the Mad Dog callers know as much as any of the guests. Honestly, I know the betting stuff, but Patrick, really, right? We could go there. We could talk about the 1975 Rams, 85 Lakers, whatever you want to do. All this kind, whatever you need. A little kibitz, a little fun, brighten your
Right.
day. Don't you have more fun when I call instead of that guy that's on there for 10 minutes plugging something and actually doesn't even talk to Dustin after that? Why is Dustin being so nice to this guy? Screw that guy. Don't go to Hennessy's, dude, wherever you're from. You're not invited. He's out.
We do.
Whoever this
Listen,
is, Dustin.
listen, I've made it very clear since we came back. I don't know, maybe in January.
Yeah. Good for him.
As far as let me just, if you don't mind, as far as professional thrills, for me, and been doing it a long time, reconnecting with this audience after I had done it forever has been it's just been a really profound experience for me. You know how much I love you and the rest of the Mad Dog Sports Radio listeners. So of course I welcome you anytime, Mike.
Vice versa. Patrick, you know how many calls I got when you came back on? I got texts, I got calls, I got whatever. Telegram. People are like, oh my God, Patrick's back on there. People that don't even call, Patrick's back. Are you going to be calling all the day? No, I'm not going to call. I'm not going to ruin the show. I'm not going to go crazy. But when needed, I call. Right? I intervene. I do what I have to do. And now Dustin's in the mix now, so it's a whole different vibe now. It's like,
so I'll make sure that Dustin DMs you for a guest spot coming up in the near future.
You need it. I'll shut down my computer. Beautiful Italian. She'll wait on dinner, whatever it takes. And then you'll have all sorts of hate emails. You'll have all sorts of people threatening to leave. It's serious.
Yeah. All right. Well, see you later. For sure. We will take that into consideration. I do not say that sarcastically. Sometimes I could be a sarcastic jerk. Those of you that listened to the show back when I started in 2014, as I try to kill another bug, know that coming back to the platform has been a personal and professional thrill for me. I love this audience. I love the people that pay attention to this network. It's a thrill for me. So yeah, of course, we'd like to have more of you. Why not? So Dustin, do you take that without ego and just sit with that tonight? Okay.
Yeah, when Troy Aikman cancels, I'll make sure I call Mike to replace him.
See, now that feels sarcastic, and I think he was just trying to help.
See,
but here's the thing, Dustin, he doesn't like Mike. Okay, he is like 50% of the audience of Mad Dog Sports Radio love Mike, and 50% don't like him, and that's the same on the show. I love Mike. Dustin happens to dislike him.
Saying 50% likes him feels like a stretch of the number. It's like maybe 25% likes him. I mean, that call was wild. Just call me up. I'm around anytime you need me to do 10 minutes on the 86 Lakers.
Well,
40 years ago.
Now, speaking of the Minnesota Timberwolves, I can tell you that a lot of NBA fans like Anthony Edwards. The mother of his children do not. No. However, he is a wonderfully gifted basketball player. So let's get into this series. The Minnesota Timberwolves, 49-33. I think you would agree, a bad regular season, disjointed regular season. They finished in 6th place. Last year, they were much better. They had an awesome regular season all the way to the Western Conference Finals. This year, it was kind of clunky. They couldn't really figure it out, but started to figure things out at the right time. I think you would agree, and that brings me to point number 1, why I believe that the Minnesota Timberwolves will go back and forth with this, can win a championship, Dustin, and it's the Randall effect. I'll just start there. Can I finish my thought? Do you mind? You good?
Yeah.
Julius Randle, while you would agree, not Karl Anthony Towns physically, has really started to figure some things out. And I think he takes pressure off of Anthony Edwards with his ability to push it, handle the ball, where Karl Anthony Towns is very gifted, but handling the ball in traffic and doing certain things, Randle has exploded to become their most valuable player in this postseason. You would agree?
Well, and what has been my big knock in Oklahoma City? If SGA isn't right, who picks up the slack? If Anthony Edwards isn't going right, Minnesota has someone who can do that for them. And they're 30-6 straight up with him in the lineup. In the playoffs, he's averaging 24 points per game, almost 6 assists, 6 rebounds per game. He is a difference maker. He can score in isolation. When the offense has issues, you can just get the ball in his hands and you can run everything through him. He's had double-digit assists a couple times. He's a guy who can do a little bit of everything. He is a perfect number 2 for what Minnesota's doing offensively.
Yeah, I agree. He's a I'm guessing as a Knicks fan, he's a confounding basketball player because there can be a bit of a, hey, once the ball's in his hands, he just goes into ISO mode. But he has his grab and go proficiency, like his ability. He just has ignited the offense because the offense, we saw it with Cleveland, can't just be Donovan Mitchell, and this Minnesota offense can't just be Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, he was good as a Knick. He was an all-star as a Knick. He was a great go-to scorer, but at times the rest of the offense would get bogged down because you ran it through him all the time. In this role as the B, where Edwards is the A, it's a little bit different. He becomes more of a change of pace guy when they kick it to him. Also, he's super dangerous shooting from the perimeter as well, so he pulls his guy out that way. I just like what he brings to the table as a versatile weapon offensively, because even if, let's say, his shot's not falling, he gets enough attention that he kicks it to a guy like McDaniels who knocks down shots. He stretches the floor to open things up where Anthony Edwards has a lane to get to. I just think that he is an X factor in this series for Minnesota, and he's one of the reasons why they can win it.
And if it's fascinating if you look at Julius Randle when he came out of college and you look at him now, it's like not even the same human being. I don't know if it's Ozempic. I don't know what it is, but he's in the greatest shape of his life and very determined, obviously.
I think he's one of like 4 players that were a teammate of Kobe Bryant's left in the NBA. I want to say it's him. Josh Hart's one of them. Brandon Ingram might be one of them. There might be one more out there. He's been around.
Yeah, he's been around, and he's a tremendous basketball player. That is number one for me. Why Minnesota can win a championship? It doesn't make sense on paper because Karl Anthony Towns is the better player, but Randall better for the Timberwolves. You're up.
Okay. One of the big things that we saw with the Thunder against the Nuggets last series was Oklahoma City dominated the non-Jokic minutes. When Jokic was off the floor, that second unit for the Thunder took off. Those runs are not going to be there this series. Minnesota's deep. They have a bench. They have guys who can get on the floor, make an impact on both ends, not just one end of the floor. In Naz Reid, 6th man of the year guy, and he's awesome at getting buckets underneath the basket. And I don't really trust the Oklahoma City rim protection, especially in the time when Hartenstein's not out there. Secondly, they have guys like DiVincenzo and Alexander Walker. They have depth. They have other secondary options outside of their main guys. And I think when you look at Oklahoma City against Denver, I think they thrived because the Nuggets just didn't have anyone other than Jokic that they could rely on. In this series, Minnesota has different guys who can have their nights where they go off. We saw it with McDaniels early in the postseason. Someone else can step up for them, whereas I don't know for Oklahoma City outside of SGA who I can rely on night in, night out, as we saw with Jalen Williams.
You followed right into my second. I said the improvement of Jaden McDaniels is the reason Minnesota can win a championship. It's like he always gave that defensive effort, but he used to pass up shots and, not drive to the bucket. And now he's asserting himself. He's putting up, close to 16 points and 6 boards this postseason. Jaden McDaniels is a much better version and what we had hoped for from Jaden McDaniels than he was last year. So I think that power forward combination of Randall and McDaniels surrounding Ant, I think that adds to why I believe Minnesota can win a championship.
Yeah. And I think also Oklahoma City's kind of taken a step back. They're not shooting the 3 as well in this series. And Minnesota likes to live beyond the arc. They like to chuck those threes. Ant led the league in them this season. And because of that, if those struggles continue against a team like Minnesota that can get hot from there, it's a dangerous recipe for the Thunder.
I hear you, brother. We're going to continue. Why Minnesota? We picked Minnesota because it does feel like maybe the overlooked team of the Final Four remaining. The coronation of Oklahoma City feels like it's already happening. So why not Minnesota? That's why we picked Minnesota today.
Yeah, this whole thing stemmed from early in the year. We started having our basketball experts on, and I get triggered when everyone has the same talking point. And the same talking point was that Oklahoma City is inevitable. Now, they still might be. But that doesn't mean I think there's holes to crack in what they have going on. They're not a perfect basketball team. They are showing in the playoffs that the style of play that got them here doesn't necessarily work the same in the shortened series, shortened benched, more physical nature games.
All right. We'll come back and continue to tell you why Minnesota can do this. Maybe it deserves a poll. Should Mike and the OC be a consistent guest?
A regular?
I love how Mike called up and he was just like, listen, boys, I got the fix. It's set on the call screen. Naya wrote down, he says, less guests, more callers. But by the time Mike had gotten to us, it wasn't about other callers. It was about he should be used as a guest. I see why people hate him.
He said, how about a little bit more me involved in the show? That's what he wants.
But I do appreciate. Oh no. We have breaking news. When we come back, and this is what we do, people. We stir up the drama. And when we come back, remember the F him guest that we just completely excommunicated from the program? He has written Dustin a reply. When we come back, we'll find out what it says and tell you why Minnesota can win a championship. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Stanley Cup playoffs are on SiriusXM tonight, 8 Eastern. It's game one of the Eastern Conference Final between the Panthers and the Hurricanes. Carolina announcers are on Sirius 210, XM 219. The Florida feed is on Sirius 211, XM 220. The national broadcast is on NHL Network Radio, Channel 91, and you can follow the action on the Sirius XM app. We got you back. We are just about 7 minutes away from puck dropping that one. And then coming up 5:30 my time, 8:30 your time on the East Coast, we're going to have game one between the Timberwolves and the Thunder. So we're telling you why the T-Wolves can win not only that series, but win a championship. But as we do, not only on the last version of this program, The Wrap, but on the new version, VSiN Live, here on Mad Dog Sports Radio, sometimes we get into other stuff. And before the program started, all I did, I showed up with my cheery disposition, and I said, how's everybody doing? And Dustin dropped a hard F-bomb on one of our previous guests. His name is Eric Lindstrom, because he did not write Dustin back. And Dustin said he's dead to him. He hates the guy, all that kind of stuff. Well, the marvel of modern, technology, somebody, a great listener, reached out. What did I call him? Eric Lindquist? Is that not his name? Okay.
You said Lindstrom.
Well, that was a tremendous defenseman. That was a tremendous defenseman, probably the best defenseman of all time, and he played for my Detroit Red Wings, so you'll understand. However, the bottom line is Dustin is a great communicator, and he was not communicated with to his standard by Eric Lindquist. So he said, F him. Somebody listening wrote to Eric and said, that's a bad job bailing out on the boys. And Eric got the message. He did reply to Dustin's text. Now, I got the text from Dustin. I refuse to read it because it's going to be way too awkward. I don't even want to look and see what Eric said because I'm not involved. All right. All I do is show up and do my job. Do you want to give us a summation of what Eric said to you?
I don't, because I think there's a chance if I give you the information, I will be the bad guy in this story.
You generally are. You've had a rough couple of weeks as far as like standing on 10 toes. So here it's okay if you're in the wrong. I got your back. We're never going to have the guy on again. But what did he say?
He said, how did I miss this? Yes, he's good to join unless he found a sub or we found a sub because these didn't come through at all. I've literally just been at home betting all day with random shows.
Okay, I can't. How do you feel?
Oh, I'm a dick. I'm definitely the dick in this conversation. I'll admit I probably jumped to conclusions, but I also...
Now, here's where you do the thing where you admit to being wrong and then you go back to saying...
No. I'm like 80% at fault. If I just would have gotten a reply to one of the two text messages I sent, like 4 or 5 hours apart, that's all it would have taken. So I'm definitely in the wrong here. But more importantly, I'm in the wrong because I don't like confrontation and I don't like having enemies. And whenever I try to be a tough guy, it blows up in my face. And this is just another example of me being like, screw this guy for bailing on us. And in the end, he just didn't see the messages. And I'm mostly the bad guy in this.
Taking your side on this, is it literally possible to have not seen the messages?
Has anyone in the history of text messages not seen 2 text messages from the same person on the same day when every week you do the same thing at the same time on that day?
See, I just trapped you. You're admitting that you were just lying about feeling bad.
No, I do feel bad that I trashed him on the air. I don't feel bad that I'm annoyed by it.
Oh, okay. Moving forward, how will we rectify this with a tremendous guest in Eric Lindstrom?
Lindquist. I think we have him on and we pretend none of this happened.
Not overly comfortable with it. You know the way I do. If it comes on, I got to bring up the drama. And Eric was great. Eric even got into your drama to bring your girlfriend home. He was a friend to the show. Like I said at the beginning, I always loved the guy.
That's why I was bitter, because I liked him, because we texted outside the show. What I'd say is because he's so analytically driven, because he's so by the numbers, maybe there's a chance we bring it up to him and he's not all that bothered that I just crapped on him for about 45 minutes.
Okay, I'll let you handle that via text and we'll get the situation rectified. Now, back to Minnesota. Here's the one problem. The key is stopping SGA. And obviously, SGA averaged 35 a game against Minnesota in the regular season. He's just not somebody you stop. I see Mike Samich joining the chat. Maybe we can get him a little help coming up on our drama. But stopping SGA, they do have the perimeter defenders, Minnesota, to do so. So that's not really a point as to why. It's just that is the key, because expecting somebody consistently offensively to step up for Oklahoma City is a reach. It's just SGA is that great.
Yeah, no, he's the guy, and they're going to rely on him late in games. But this is a team that can throw a variety of guys at him on the outside. And while their defense, Minnesota, isn't as good as Oklahoma City's, it's not far off. And since March 1st, number 7 in defensive rating, number 2 in offensive rating. I think Minnesota, the way they're playing right now, is more balanced on both ends.
Minnesota. Before we were going to go to break and come back with Samich, just between you and I, because he can't hear us yet, are you good with him, or do you have beef with him too?
Oh, I'm always good with Samich. I'm always good with Samich.
You sure? Because that's not what you texted me earlier today. It's VSiN Live. Mike Samich, join us. Mr. Puck, Mr. Horsey, next. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Welcome back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Yeah, the big guy. He's having a day. And Mike Samich, who is our next guest, he's been on a freaking heater. He handed out the Super and the Kentucky Derby, handed out the winner at even money and the Preakness. Just a life heater that continues for a guy that doesn't need it. I've met his wife and I've met his daughter. I mean, seriously, save some for the rest of us. And you can check out Mike's picks over at VSiN.com/subscribe for the big guy too, who's always near the top of the leaderboard. VSiN.com/subscribe. You use that promo code SERIOUS and you're good to go, people, through August 1st for $19. $19 to win $1,600 on the Super. I think that's a good value. if I don't say so. Mike Somich, VSiN host, Ready, Set, Bet, weekends, 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, at SamoBomb18 on Twitter. More importantly, part of the family, a genuine friend of myself and the big guy. We say hi to Samo. Hi, Samo.
Hey, how's it going, boys? Happy conference finals day. We're back on the ice tonight. We got game 1 here with the Panthers. We got game 1 with the Hurricane. Going to be rocking in Raleigh tonight.
It is going to be rocking in Raleigh, so we should start there before the puck drops, and then we'll get to the drama. Bad spot for Florida, if we're just talking spots. You know, went up to Toronto on Sunday, went back to Florida, now to Raleigh. You've lived near Raleigh. You don't want to be there. And Carolina's going to be a short favorite tonight. What do you have on this one?
Yeah, but building's going to be rocking. One thing, like I did live in Raleigh for 5 years. They love them some Carolina Hurricanes there, especially playoff time Carolina Hurricanes. That building is going to be buzzing. They want to get to a Stanley Cup final. Haven't been back in over a decade now. I like Florida. With all that said, look, this is just a better, like these are two teams who are mirror images of each other, except for one thing. Florida can score. If you look through the playoff scoring and the current leaderboard and just a point scored in the playoffs, you've got two Canes who have 10 points each. They are the top scorers, Sebastian Aho and I believe it's Seth Jarvis, who are top two. Then you've got their third best scorer with 9 points. If you look at the Panthers, they've got 3 people who've scored 11 or more points. They've got 2 more at 10, 2 more at 9, 2 more at 8. They just have so much more offensive depth. And it's not like there's a huge disadvantage at the blue line. There's not a huge disadvantage in net. It is just two similar teams that want to grind you down and want to try and control play. And I don't think either team really going to be able to 100% control the play. But when you get your opportunities off of that, who's going to put the puck away? Florida has an exponentially higher chance of putting the puck away in those situations. I think this is a defensive series. I think Florida's more top-end talent on their second, third, and fourth line are what helps them get through here. So give me Florida for the series. I think it's minus 125. And then I like the first period under pretty much until further notice in this series. So first period under tonight, first period under in game 2, first period under in game 3, unless we see the pace of this series change. But I would be shocked if this was an up-and-down series at any point, Patrick.
Yeah, how about the goalie matchup to go with that and the unders? Just Bobrovsky's won a cup. He was awesome games 4 through 7 against Toronto. Anderson on the other side allowed just 12 goals over 9 games in the postseason. I mean, what do you think of those two goalies going head to head here?
It should be a banger. I mean, Bobrovsky just steps up. Stanley Cup Bob able to just show up when the moments become huge. And this is obviously one of those spots in the conference finals. And you got Anderson on the other side, who has probably been the best goalie in the playoffs so far. So you've got just a situation where you've got a guy who's proven to be able to perform at the big moments and to win a cup. On the other side, you've got the guy who's playing very well right now in front of a really well-structured defensive team. It just screams under, especially first period. Look, it can get crazy. Like the Leafs-Panthers game 7, that was a dead under game until Florida just started blowing the doors off. And then all of a sudden we had 7 goals, right? And that one, it's one of those where that's why I like the first period under more than the full game under. Because once things get out of hand in some of these games, if you get a 2-goal lead, you're going to start seeing wonky things with goalie pulls early and defensive pinches, which create opportunities on both sides. And so if I think it's an under series, I want to play the first period under, not the full game under.
All right, nobody better with the puck than Mike Somich. We do have the Eastern Conference Final, save the S for savings, coming up here in a couple of minutes for Dustin Swedelson. And I got to be honest, I know that, and you mentioned Raleigh is going to be rocking, and I know they're great on their home ice. I was surprised Florida was that short in the series because Florida is the better team.
Yes, they are. And that's really what this comes down to is can they steal one game in Raleigh, and are they going to be able to hold serve when they're at home? And I think the answer is yes to both of those, maybe 2 in Raleigh. You look at this Hurricane team, and everyone talks about how great they've been defensively, and they have been phenomenal defensively. Given up, I believe it's I think it's 12 goals here in 9 games in the playoffs. You know what, though? They don't score a lot either. And that's going to be a problem in this series. Now you're playing a team that has significantly better defensive structure than what you saw in Washington, than what you saw in the first round as well. Now you're playing a team that has offensive playmakers outside of the first line depth. Yeah, it's great to have Ovechkin. Tell me about the other 6 dudes that can score. You can't. There aren't them on Washington. There are on Florida. This is just a different animal that they're stepping on the ice with.
Yeah, I saw someone talking about
Literally.
saw someone talking about how they dominated in the postseason leading up to this, Mike. But easy to dominate when you have the worst 1 seed, Washington, right, that you're taking on. And then New Jersey, you can't score. They had no offense. So, of course, Carolina's look good in the postseason.
Yeah, this draw has been beautiful for him. I mean, you get to, like you said, you get to play New Jersey, who was depleted from injury, so they were down to a single line. You playing Washington, who's down to a single line since the start of the season. They were a team that was able to feast on bad teams around the NHL. And now you have to play a team that can roll 3 or 4 lines consistently and will just put you in a blender as they do that. That's what the Hurricanes want to do. And really, whoever can get into that game is going to be able to win this series. The difference to me is that the Panthers, when they have their opportunity, because I think both of them will be able to successfully forecheck at different times during the series, the Panthers are, we'll call it 2x more likely to score a goal when they're able to forecheck like that than the Hurricane are, because you really have one line you're worried about on the Hurricane. You have to worry about 3 or 4 lines on the Panthers, and that depth makes a difference, especially over a 7-game series.
Yeah, the Panthers are relentless. They're a pretty impressive hockey team. And yesterday we should, before we get to the West, we should pour one out for the Maple Leafs. I mean, can you imagine? Like, first off, the concept that they went down to Florida and won. The boys had to be buzzing up in Toronto, like, this is it. We're coming back. We're gonna win Game 7, and they got freaking dominated on their home ice in a closeout. That was ridiculous.
I got made fun of because I said on air, if I was a Toronto player, I'd rather play Game 7 on the road. I don't want to be in the pressure cooker in Toronto. I went to Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals when the St. Louis played Boston in St. Louis, the first time a finals game had been there in 50 years. You expect to walk in with just a phenomenal amount of energy, and I walked into a phenomenal amount of nervous energy, and you could feel that transition over to the ice for St. Louis. They played their worst first period of the entire playoffs in that game. I wonder how much nervous energy was that in that building, especially after the first at 0-0, and you're starting to tighten up more. You realize one goal could mean everything, and then all of a sudden, I mean, the floodgates just broke, and it was over before it started.
Yeah, but also to your point on that, if you're on the road, there's less distractions. It's a business trip. You're at a hotel. Everything is scheduled when you get to the arena. If you're in your home, your bed, your wife, your girlfriend, your kids, whatever's around, like, there's all these other things of regular life happening. I don't know if you can be as locked in. I'm just curious, just your general take on Toronto going forward, because it feels like we have some version of this conversation every year, Mike. How different do you think they look next season?
I mean, Mitch Marner's an unrestricted free agent. So pretty different. I mean, he's their second best player, and he wants to go play in Florida. That's not a great sign if you're Toronto. So we'll see if they can re-sign him. I think that's a big bonus for them. They need to restructure their defensive core. They need Stolarz to stay healthy and goal in the playoffs. They still have a lot of different issues they need to address. It's not like they were a dominant team in the regular season. They were a 2-3 seed. So we'll see if they can figure out how to step forward next year. But the first part of it is going to be Mitch Marner, and then how can we restructure this defense? And again, I mean, we don't know if Stolarz is actually a playoff-ready goalie. That's the other problem. He's Florida's backup last year. So he has playoff experience, but not like, hey, I won a Stanley Cup playoff experience. It's more like, hey, I sat on the bench. Well, Bobrovsky did his work, right? So to me, it's going to be a question until it's not a question, because you have to get over that hump for that the question to be eliminated.
Well, Toronto let Canada down, and they do have one hope left, and that is the Edmonton Oilers. And Edmonton is a short favorite in the series against Dallas, though Dallas does have the home ice. And Dallas, it's similar to what's the East, if we're being completely transparent about it. And Dallas is a short favorite, about $1.24 tomorrow, hosting Edmonton. It's going to be expected more scoring, Mike, 6.5 on the total. What's your outlook on this series?
It's going to be a banger. I mean, I have come on here and I have told everybody how Edmonton is going to lose in round 1 and round 2, and they did not. They were able to figure out how to find that secondary and tertiary scoring and be able to continue to get production outside of the top line of McDavid and Draisaitl. And then when they need a big play, those two guys able to step up. At some point, the depth has to get them. And maybe it's here. Like, I thought it was going to be against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. It was not. They dispatched of them pretty easily, if we're being honest here. But this is a Dallas team, again, that can roll 4 lines, that has Mikko Rantanen to go head-to-head with those type of guys. They've got superstars on the offensive end, but they also have depth that goes with it. To me, the biggest difference here is goalie. Ottinger in net for Dallas is a massive, massive upgrade over having Stuart Skinner, who it looks like it's going to be, and the fact that your backup goalie, you want him to get healthy so he can be your starting goalie after you had to pull your starting goalie and turn him into your backup goalie in the first round, not usually a good sign in net. So with all of that turmoil that you've got in the Edmonton net, I would rather take the more stoic, the more set goalie here, and that's Ottinger, and the more talented lineup. That's the thing. Top to bottom, the more talented. 1 and 2, Edmonton has the best 2 players in the series. But after that, you'd probably have to go 7-8 deep before you get into the next Oiler.
And then coaching edge, Knobloch. I know he took Edmonton deep right last year, but DeBoer in game 7s, undefeated. If you're going to go edge, which way do you go there?
I would lean slightly toward DeBoer, but it's not huge. I mean, you got to remember these 2 teams played last year in the Western Conference Finals. This is a rematch where we saw Edmonton able to get by Dallas. Now, that was a better version. That was a better Edmonton team last year than they are this year. I think that has to be at least noted. Lost a couple guys to free agency. They've got injury concerns still. So this is a worse team, but I don't think the coaching delta is very big. To me, this is one's going to be decided more on the ice than it will be behind the bench.
All right. 2 great. The West, we expected series after series to be enthralled, and you've said it all year. The West is the best. I do think Florida is stacking up to, as far as, that'd be fascinating. You know what? As I'm thinking about it right now, if Florida advanced, regardless Dallas or Edmonton, the pricing would be fascinating on that series.
Yeah, I mean, the pricing all NHL season's been fascinating on these futures. If you look at the team futures right now, Florida is a favorite over both of the teams out west. They're plus 230, Edmonton's plus 265, Dallas plus 290 to win the cup. Carolina is plus 320. That means that they're probably minus 130, minus 135. Florida is over either team in the West, which I'm kind of surprised by, like, especially after, like, I think the West was the better conference all year. Now, this Florida team has looked a lot like last year's Florida team, and that's why they're getting so much love in the market, that you have this 4 lines that you can grind and you can dominate games, and you make the long change periods absolute hell for your opponents. Like, that's what we've seen Florida do consistently, and they've got the same goalie. So it makes sense, but I still am a little surprised. I don't think they should be meaningful favorites over the Stars. I do think they should be favored over the Oilers, but not the Stars.
And Mike, we're underway in Raleigh. Fashion discussion right now. For some reason, Carolina going with the home black sweaters, not their traditional garb. How surprised are we by this decision?
Not that surprised. They love their blackout sweaters there, and I believe it was 13 games in a row they won at one point in the blacks, and so they'll bust them out for big games, especially in the playoffs. It's got the 2 hurricane flags in the front there with the little boxes on it.
I thought I was throwing something at you that you didn't have something queued up for, but Mike Somich is always ready. He's always ready.
Yeah,
you should know better by now, Dustin.
He's on top of it. Did you go to that dump in Raleigh when you lived there? Did you go see a game?
I used to go to a lot of Hurricanes games. My nephew Jack, who just turned 11, I took him to his first game when he was about 6, and he fell in love with it. He bought a pack of hockey cards and pulled a Svechnikov rookie, and Svechnikov scored a hat trick in the game, and he was absolutely hooked to the Panthers, hooked to Svechnikov, and has been going to games ever since.
But at least he picked an easy player to pronounce.
Yeah, a lot of letters on the back of the jersey.
By the way, they're saying that the basketball game is gonna make Dog and everybody on the East Coast happy. It's an 8:43 tip in Oklahoma City. So we were having the conversation earlier. This is for anybody. Yes, I'm old. Yes, I go to bed early. But I don't know if I moved back east, if I could adjust to a basketball game starting at 8:45 p.m. What is that?
I mean, it's pretty rough. It really is. Like the biggest one for me is the college football when you go back east, where it's like you're trying to watch
something.
The semifinal game 2 years ago bled into the new year. Like, what are we doing? Like, why is this? How is this allowed?
Well, think about this from like the NBA perspective. The Western Conference has all the great teams. Good luck being on the East Coast and staying up and watching the Lakers or the Warriors consistently when they don't tip off till 11 o'clock at night. You're never watching them until the postseason.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It just keeps getting worse too. I mean, we got the number 1 pick going to San Antonio, where there's rumors that number 1 pick going to Dallas. There's rumors that Giannis is heading out west. Tatum's out for next year. The superstar level in the Eastern Conference in the NBA next year is absolutely obliterated.
It is. However, on the track, there are a couple of superstars. So we should transition with Mike Somich here, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. First off, bang up job I watched VSiN at the track on Saturday. You and Aaron were freaking awesome. Tremendous hosting job by you. Smooth, seamless. I loved it. The race itself, I'm going to do what I do, which is annoying, but I'm going to be hyperbolic. It's one of the great performances of all time because you're not supposed to be that type of animal is not supposed to have that momentum stopped and then reaccelerate, not get hit once, not get wedged once, twice, and then beast through the hole and then accelerate down the final stretch and win a horse race like that. Journalism, wow.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of a bang-up job, right? I mean, he was phenomenal there. And it was interesting being on air when we're watching the race. And Umberto Rispoli, the jockey of journalism, I was calling through the race. What was he doing? Where was he going to go? Because you could tell he had some horse. And then he started to ask him for it, and he peeled outside. And I'm like, okay, journalism's headed outside. And then he peeled inside. And I made my what the bleep is he doing voice that Aaron called out later in the show. I'm like, and I guess journalism's going to the rail. And then chaos, just pure chaos. A lot happened at once. Like there's a lot of people who are very upset with Rispoli, very upset with Pratt. This all started when Gosker, who was next to the 8-horse Clever Again, cleared him and then went over. So Clever Again starts to back up. That's right when journalism tries to thread the needle. There's nowhere to go for any of those 3 horses. Now, yes, Rispoli could have just gone 4 wide and won by 3 lengths. That was a bad decision. But once he was in position, there was nowhere any of them could go. And for an equine athlete to be able to take that amount of punishment and then re-engage mentally, that's what to me is so impressive, is that you literally had Sandman, who got the perfect trip, was 5 wide, didn't have to deal with any of this junk at the rail, past journalism, and then journalism's just like, nah, bro, I got another gear left here, and flips it back into 5th gear, and then runs down Gosker, who was getting tired, but still runs down Gosker, who was 6 lengths ahead of him with a final 1/8 of a mile. It was one of the most phenomenal performances you're going to see from a horse. I have been trying to think of like other examples of Fleet Alex in the Preakness, where he goes down to 1 knee around the far turn. Was like the only other thing I could come up with any type of comp. I've been watching horse racing for over 25 years. I can't remember another time a horse took that much abuse with that little time left to win the race and still able to pull it off.
Let me just follow up, Dustin, because Mike mentioned the mental aptitude of the horse. What people have to understand is like these horses are just like humans. They're all built differently. Some are super competitive. Some are very docile. What we found out about journalism is not only a freak physically, but mentally, he's just built different. And you said it. He got boxed. He got beat up. I thought at one point all 3 horses were going to go down. I was like, oh, no, I don't want to see a horrific accident on NBC. Regardless, I don't want to see a horrific accident. For him to deal with that mentally and then reestablish himself and just beast mode the rest of the way. Again, I got emotional because that's what horses do to me. It was incredible.
It really was. It was. And if you, for everyone out there, like, just imagine you are driving a car, okay? Because that's what these jockeys are doing. They're 100-pound people on top of 1,000-pound animals. And you've got to pass 2 cars on either side, and you know there's not enough room to go through. And you hear the grinding of the metal. And instead of, hitting the brakes, you slam on the gas, and then you get a ton of damage. All 4 doors rip off, and then you're like, I'm going to go catch that car in front of me now. Like, that's what has to go through the head of these people.
But Mike, the thing that jumped out to me, and you tell me if you've ever seen anything like this part of it before, it felt like the horse knew exactly how much energy it needed to give to just barely get there and win the race. Like, it took every ounce of whatever journalism had left to get there and get to the front and somehow win by what, a couple millimeters essentially.
It is amazing to watch that, because these horses know what they are doing. They've got the competitive juices inside them. They don't necessarily know where the wire, but they know they want to be in front. I was on a trail ride about 7 years ago, and I was on a racehorse that was 7 for 9 in his lifetime, had to be retired, but had won 7 of his 9 races. And I go to the trail, and my horse would not be in last at any point. As soon as we fell behind people, the horse would immediately go around the pack and get into the front. And that is the mentality of some of these great horses that just love to win. And you saw that inside journalism, is that he could have just stopped. He could, like most horses, when they go through all that trouble, are going to run third. They're going to run third behind Sandman, and they're going to be fine with it. When you saw him kick back into gear, that was that mental moment where it's like, no, I know what I'm supposed to do. I like what I am supposed to do. I want to go win this race. And if you watch, Rispoli's not even using the whip on him. He's just doing it. He's just going. I mean, it's just a wildly impressive performance.
It was incredible, and that brings up the question. Let's do this properly. I'm going to break quickly, come back. Carolina is on the power play. It's 0-0, 14-20 to play in the first. That brings up the Belmont because it is now apparent that journalism is a special horse. But what does that say about sovereignty? We'll come back and find out and get into the basketball as well with Mike Somich, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, let's do this quick because I want to get to the basketball with Mike Somich, VSiN host, professional bettor. Of course, he joins us, Dustin Swedelson. I'm Patrick Meagher. So we talked about journalism, obviously a special horse. The stretch run against Sovereignty in the Kentucky Derby, what we saw is that Sovereignty might be a special horse as well. Now, that was the slop. Maybe, I don't know if journalism does or doesn't like. You mentioned he could handle it. What does this mean now for the Belmont, Mike Somich?
It means we got juice. We got juice.
Got a
Baby.
lot of juice.
We got a rivalry. When was the last time we had a rivalry in the Triple Crown? And yes, journalism hopped on the bus and took a trip up to Saratoga. He is planning on being there for the Belmont, which means we get Sovereignty, we get journalism, we get Baeza. Don't forget Baeza in this too, who was a fast closing third in that Kentucky Derby. I said this right after the show. I asked Aaron, right when we were the final hour, I said, Aaron, who's the best 3-year-old in the country? I still think it's journalism. I do. I think that the pace in the Kentucky Derby, a pace that he was closer to, was not as advantageous for him as it was for Baeza, as it was for Sovereignty, who were coming from off the pace. I still think journalism is the big dog, and I like him because he doesn't need the pace to chase. He could have a slow pace in front of him. We saw it happen in California twice, and he can run you down late because he is closer to that slow pace. He can have a fast pace in front of him, and he can go ahead and run you down. That's what we saw in the Preakness. So, the fact that he's able to be effective in either scenario puts him over the top for me. But this is going to be a fun 3-year-old campaign because Baeza and journalism and Sovereignty are all talking about running in the Haskell, running in the Travers, running in the Breeders' Cup Classic. We're talking about all the big 3-year-old and then eventually older male races. They're not backing down from each other, which makes this really exciting.
How about the rust versus rest factor? We've got one horse that's going to come in rested, one that's been locked in and kind of used to the grind. How do you think that plays out between these two?
I don't think there's any way you couldn't say that Sovereignty doesn't have an advantage in here. Sovereignty has the advantage at Belmont because not only if journalism had come out of that race in the Preakness and gone wide and won by 4, I don't think you could make enough. Then to me, there's not a huge advantage one way or the other. The fact that journalism had to do what he had to do, chase a pretty fast pace, squeeze through horses, take the physical wear, the mental wear to then get to the front. I think Baeza and Sovereignty both kind of have a step ahead of him. I think journalism might still be good enough to do it though. I had journalism as the number 1 horse heading into the Derby, but I picked Sovereignty. I had journalism coming out of the Derby as the number 1 horse. I'm not going to change after I see him doing something incredible. So I think long-term journalism's still the better horse, but in a race-by-race perspective, he obviously can get beat by multiple horses in this class, which is great. That's great.
Saratoga in less than 3 weeks. More juice than it is going to be quite a build-up, and VSiN at the Track will be there for you with Mike Somich and Aaron Halterman. Nothing at under so far, looking okay, knock on wood. 12:32 to play in the first with Florida and Carolina. Florida is on a power play. We'll keep you updated there. They did kill one from Carolina. You're our mature friend. You're very calm, very medium, so we have to bring up the drama.
Mm-hmm.
It was unfortunate, but before the program started, the big guy, who sometimes gets over his skis, said, F him. And he was angry. F him. He's done. And he was talking about, unfortunately, Eric Lindquist, who was a regular on the program. And smart guy, analytical guy, a good bettor, nice personality, got involved in the show stuff. And Dustin hit me with a hard F him. And I said, he's gone. He gone. And Dustin said, well, may I ask why? And he said, listen, I wrote the guy twice. He never wrote me back. He's been tweeting all day. So he's online. A caller or a listener then tweeted at Eric Lindquist, I can't believe you just did the boys dirty. Eric Lindquist wrote Dustin 10 paragraphs. Didn't see the text. I'm so sorry. Goal for Florida, 1-0, 11:30 to play. Said, I'm so sorry. And that's where we stand. Dustin, would you like to add anything before we get a ruling from Mike Somich?
Yeah, and look, Eric is someone that I brought to the show because I really liked him. I've enjoyed our conversations. We have texted off the air as well. So I thought we had a good relationship, but Mike knows this. I text every Tuesday morning, usually around the same time, checking in because they have their weeklies on the same day. And I said, hey, are you good for the normal time? And Mike usually replies pretty promptly, hey, I'm available. Now, this was a situation where I texted at 8:30. Didn't hear anything. Got to about 1:45 and I realized I hadn't heard back. Let me figure out what's going on. So I sent a double text. Still nothing by the time the show started at 4 o'clock. And then didn't get a text back saying, hey, I missed all this until 4:45-ish. So we're already almost an hour into the show, an hour and 15 minutes from his usual weekly spot. So while I think I did handle a lot wrong by trashing the guy, I'd also say none of that would have happened had he just said yes or no to my 2 text messages earlier today.
You are I'll look. I'm Team Dustin here. I'm Team Dustin, and I like maybe you overreacted, but as someone who has now done this for 5 years, I've never not replied to someone. I know every single time I have a hit. I've never missed a hit. Like every time you hit me up, Dustin, you said, I hit you back immediately. Like, yes, I'm in. This is part of the job, is you have to know your schedule. And like, there is no excuse for not knowing your schedule. I'm sorry you were betting, bro. We're all betting on stuff like this. That's not an excuse. Like, now maybe you don't flame him on air. Maybe you come up with a little better
that's
one.
probably
Yeah.
on me. That's probably on me.
To me, F
But-
him, I hate him.
Yeah. But let's all put ourselves in Dustin's shoes for a second here, okay? He's got to find 3 guests a day who would reply to him, who make sure they're on it so that Patrick knows that those people will be there. He's trying to make sure everything stays together. And then he's also hosting the show at the same time. It's not easy to do. I can understand that it would upset you if someone doesn't respond to you when you're trying to do your job. Like that would tick me off too. So I can't be mad at Dustin for being passionate about putting on a good show.
I think we would all agree I did make one major mistake in the whole thing.
And don't air it out.
And no, telling Patrick any details, because when Patrick hears I'm upset about something, he becomes like the mom in the car who puts their hand over the kid in the front seat when they're braking too hard. He wants to make sure I'm good. He gets protective and he's like, no, I'm on your, he doesn't even care about the details. He's like, whatever it is, I'm with you. F him too. He's dead too. And then it became a whole bigger thing than it needed to be. And then I start doing the tough guy thing. And I'm really not a tough guy. I'm a teddy bear. I don't want to fight. I want everyone to like me. It's something I work on with Robin, my therapist, all the time, that everyone doesn't have to like me. But in these moments, I see red and I get angry. I go, you know what? I'm flipping the script. Screw everyone. I'm a tough guy now. And in the end, we find out I'm really not that tough, because now I feel bad that I aired this all out on the radio.
Well, that the only mistake you made was airing it all out, and maybe telling Patrick, because if you tell you probably know Patrick well enough to know if you tell him it's coming out, right? Like, so that is part of the airing it out mistake. Because look, people make mistakes, but it's not your responsibility. Like it literally actually is your responsibility to try and make sure they're on this show. And if they're making it hard for you to do so, that's on them. Especially when it's like, look, dude, you're looking at your texts. You know you are. Like I like.
Yeah, he said he didn't see the text.
I call I'll say minus 250. That's not true. We'll put it that way, right? Because who doesn't look at their phone for 6 hours?
The only people on planet Earth who have ever pulled that with me is when I was in the dating pool, and you match with someone, you get their phone number, you haven't met yet, you don't know them yet, and you send a text and they really just aren't that into you. So a day later you get a text, sorry, just seeing this. It's
right.
never real.
Yeah.
It's never genuine.
Look, I have mentally replied to texts in my head before. But if you get a second text following up, then you're like, oh crap, man, I meant to reply. I'll send this right now.
Yeah.
But like you do not miss 2 texts. Like and just completely, by the second one you feel bad, and then you're responding, especially when it's work. So I'm on Team Dustin here. I'm on Team Dustin.
All right.
He's gone, dude. The guy never will see these airwaves again, because nobody's having him on another show. Ride or die. Now, listen. Did I like the guy? Yeah, I did like the guy, but
I liked
in the end, I don't really care. So
no.
Team Dustin. Yeah, Team Dustin. I think Dustin should decide if he's on again, though, because now Dustin knows this is possible, and he's the one who has to deal with this if it happens.
Yeah, but then I make it awkward for Patrick, and I kind of made a living on making things not awkward for Patrick as much as I can.
It does put me in a tough spot, because there's no chance I'm not going to bring it up. I'm a weasel.
Oh, no. Yeah. No.
So I will bring it up. Hey, remember when Dustin said you're dead to him?
Yeah.
And so I'll make the guy talk about it. So
it's Dustin's job to make it not awkward for Patrick, and it's Patrick's job to make it awkward for Dustin.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
just making sure, just clarifying.
it usually ends up with good content. Yeah, it usually ends up with good content, but I don't sleep well at night.
Right. I mean, I'm still being punished for the should you get a hotel or not? You know what I'm saying? But
Still?
and that to happen. There's still cold shoulder.
Holy shit.
But entertainment is the name of the game, boys. Like
I'm not
Simon,
going to say
entertainment
anything.
is the
I'm not
name
going
of
to
the
say
game in
anything.
the end. Entertainment is the name of the game in the end. We're going to get to our buddy Joe Delera. Do you want to quickly let us know who you're betting tonight? It's 7 right now. Oklahoma City in a tough spot.
I actually laid it with OKC. I think they were able to come through here. I think this is a defensive battle, and I just trust these secondary and tertiary offensive weapons for the Thunder much more than I do for the Timberwolves.
So a little Julius Randle hate from Mike Somich.
A little bit. My biggest bet here is OKC minus 145. I think the true odds for them to win the title are closer to minus 220 now. So I did play quite a bit of OKC minus 145 to win the title.
Was that the number right now?
Yeah. Minus 145 right now.
That's shorter than I thought. Mike Somich, VSiN host, professional bettor, Ready, Set, Bet, weekends 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern time, of course. Also has VSiN at the Track every Friday on YouTube, VSiN Live, and then replayed on Saturday, VSiN Proper. So leading up to the Belmont, which is going to be spectacular. Mike, go enjoy the hockey and basketball. Thank you.
Well, you got it. Let's keep it scoreless for the next 8 minutes and go Panthers.
Yeah, and Team Dustin.
And Team Dustin.
That brought the energy up, and we'll keep the energy going. Joe Delera, the Action Network NBA writer, our buddy in Jersey there, at Joe Delera on Twitter. Kind of a tough spot to bring you in because there's a lot of drama going on with the program, but we say, hi, Joe, how are you?
What's good, man? How you doing? I caught the end of that segment. I was like, oh, I remember this. I feel like I'm back here like a week ago.
Yeah, well, I would like to say Dustin did trash a guest today, but he's a big fan of yours. He had nothing negative to say about you. So that is the drama and the background. You just heard Mike Somich talking about this game tonight. Let's go there. It's going to tip here in about 7-8 minutes. It's 7. I just start with the spot with Oklahoma City coming off the game Sunday. A rested Minnesota team going to Oklahoma City there.
Yeah, so my best bet, honestly, for this game is I'm going to grab the Timberwolves for today, but I'm going to also grab the Thunder for the series. So I'm going to play that combo where you get the game 1 series combo. And I grabbed Minnesota tonight and Oklahoma City on the series at plus 550. To me, looking at this, there's a big trend where teams coming off of game 7s do not perform well against a team that has better rest. It honestly last round that in this situation, it went the exact opposite way. Both Oklahoma City and Minnesota blew game 1s, but I still think that there's enough data there. There's enough of a trend that it's worth kind of looking at. And this Minnesota team is going to be rested. I also think that, you beat Jokic. You beat the best player in the world. You beat the opposing MVP candidate. Maybe it is a little bit of a letdown game here. So I think that Minnesota's had a little bit more opportunity to come out. And honestly, if Minnesota's going to win the series, if they're going to make any noise in the West, I think they have to win game 1. They have to set the tone early and kind of catch the Thunder sleeping, which is what happened last series where Denver won game 1. At the end of the day, though, I think Oklahoma City is a much better team, is a much more complete team. And that's why I think of this as almost a way to get a nice ticket where I can take advantage of what I think is a perceived edge on Minnesota in game 1, but still ultimately back the better team for the course of the series. And then that'll give me a lot of options as long as Minnesota wins tonight.
Yeah, I love that play right there. It's a really, really smart way to look at it. And when you look at this matchup between these two teams, Joe, split the regular season, and obviously a little bit different because Randall wasn't available for a bunch of those. Gobert missed a couple of those games. But how these teams match up, it does feel like there's a lot of similarities. How do you think they match up with each other, the Thunder and the T-Wolves?
So I think the biggest thing is, right, Anthony Edwards really struggled against Oklahoma City over the past couple of years. Since 2022, he's only scored 30 points once. I think it's once in 16 games. That's a lot of games for a guy like Anthony Edwards to not hit that threshold. So I think you're going to see Oklahoma City throwing a lot of blitzes. They're going to force Ant to be a passer. And the question is going to be, can he handle that? We just saw Shea stepped up to the plate. He handled it last series. We've seen Ant do this against, I think, weaker opponents, realistically, in the Golden State Warriors without Curry, and then the Lakers with just no center, right? But now this is a real test for him. So I think they match up pretty well against each other, especially because Minnesota is so long. They're so like lengthy. They're so athletic. And I think the biggest struggle and the key to the series is going to be Gobert's never going to get played off. I think they need him just from a minutes perspective. He's always going to kind of be at least in that 25-minute range. But if Oklahoma City can take advantage truly of the non-Gobert minutes and actually run Chet at the 5, that's going to be a pivot point to me in this series for Oklahoma City. And on the flip side, if Minnesota is able to let Rudy Gobert play more than 25 minutes, if he's seeing 30 plus 35 plus, that's going to really help anchor that defense, and then they can actually use their guys like Jaden McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, and actually just express them on the wings, and like the guys like Shea or Jalen Williams, etc. So I think it's going to be who can actually keep their best 5 players on the floor for the most minutes of the game and not get played off.
Talking to our buddy Joe Delera, the Action Network NBA postseason. Do we knock OKC for going 7 with Denver, or is that just a Jokic appreciation?
I think it's Jokic appreciation. Jokic is the best player in the world still. I think that Shea is winning MVP. I think he's the rightful MVP given the 68 wins that Oklahoma City had, right? But at the same time, that was a puzzle piece, or a puzzle that it's been so hard for people to solve. And, Oklahoma City was able to do it. So it took a little bit. I think they got caught sleeping in game 1. And then, Denver's able to kind of pull it out. But I don't want to take it away from them for going 7, because you did have to overcome this kind of mountain, even though Denver wound up having some injuries a little bit later in the series.
How about the other series where I do believe, Joe, you were like me. You are a Knicks fan.
Yes.
And I have to tell you, I'm a bit terrified, man. I don't like Indiana. I have a little PTSD from our younger years. How do you see that matchup go? How many games would you say Knicks Pacers goes?
I think it's probably going to go the over 5.5, which is juice to hell, right? It's like minus 200. I think that's probably the way it goes. So feels a little chalky to even say that. But at the same time, I think that New York has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder from last season. And at the end of the day, if you were New York and you're sitting there in the 3 seed going into the playoffs, and they told you in the conference finals, you're going to be playing the Indiana Pacers, you probably sign up for it, because it's not the Cleveland Cavaliers who you couldn't win a game against this entire season. It's not, obviously, you took care of business against Boston, but if Indiana is the piece, like the last team that you need to beat to go to the NBA finals for the first time in whatever it is, 25 years, that's something you'd sign up for if you were a New York fan looking at it from the beginning of the playoffs. Honestly, even the beginning of the season, you would probably sign up for that. So I think that there is a little bit of reason to be concerned. Obviously, Indiana's been amazing since really like the All-Star break. The defense has stepped up. The offense has been really good. But ultimately, I think that New York has a chip on their shoulder from last season. They have an improved roster, I think, for sure, and they're healthy. That's been the biggest thing. They've been so healthy that the training staff won like the best training staff in the award for the season. So I think that this is a great spot for New York. I don't think, even though it's an emotional game, and winning that series against Boston, where you build this team to beat the Boston Celtics, I think that normally you'd have a little bit of a letdown, but because of the way New York got eliminated last year by Indiana, I don't know if we're going to see that necessarily in game 1 tomorrow against the Indiana Pacers. So I feel relatively okay about it.
Wow. Bullish on the Knicks, big guy. That should buoy you a little bit. The Karl Anthony Towns piece, Joe. What should the Knicks fans expect from Cat against the Pacers?
So I'm pretty heavy on Cat in this series. And it makes me, it's hard when I'm capping my own team and my favorite team, because I'm trying not to feel like a homer. But even looking at some of the matchups across this season, Cat has been awesome. He scored at least 23 points in every game. He's averaging over 30 points against Indiana this season. And that's not even just a this season thing. He's been good against Indiana kind of historically. And the one thing about Indiana and New York as well, they're both a little stubborn in their matchups. They want want to do anything super crazy on the defensive side of the ball in terms of inverting matchups or anything like that. I think we're going to see a decent amount of Miles Turner on Karl Anthony Towns, and that's been a successful matchup for him. So I like Cat. I played him to be the scoring leader in the series at 12-1. I played him to be Eastern Conference Finals MVP I think I got a 14-1 when I bet it. But I really like Cat here. I think that it's a good spot for him. I think it's a good matchup for him because looking at this, I think that he can play the 5. We've seen him be able to play successfully alongside of Mitchell Robinson at the 4. And New York is going to have a little bit more versatility. I think that it's a very tough spot for Indiana to have to defend him because you're either risking getting Miles Turner in a lot of foul trouble, or you're trying to run Thomas Bryant out there for 30 plus minutes, which really isn't a tenable solution for the Indiana Pacers.
Speaking of defense, how do you think the Knicks defend Halliburton? Who do you think they put on him? Because obviously Siakam's a mismatch too that you have to be careful with his length. How do you think they try to limit Halliburton, who feels like he's taken that next step here in the postseason?
One of the things that New York has kind of tried to do against Halliburton is they want him to actually be a scorer. They want him to drive. And it kind of keeps the rest of the offense from getting into the same type of rhythm. Nembhard's been really good in the playoffs in terms of his assisting, and I think that's been a development over the course of the season. But at the end of the day, if Halliburton is a scorer, I think it's almost a little bit easier for New York to predict what else is going on because a lot of times Halliburton will bring the ball up, then he's going to break somebody down in one-on-one coverage maybe, and he's going to be the person scoring. I think that that's a little bit of what New York wants. So I think that maybe you see Brunson actually try to start off on him and see how that goes, and just be willing to maybe switch, maybe be willing to give up some of those switches, play in a little bit of a drop. We'll have to see exactly, but I think that New York ideally wants him to be a scorer, so maybe the rest of the offense struggles to get into a little bit of a rhythm.
Yeah, we were all in unison on Minnesota tonight, taking the 7. They are up 8-3, 9:12 to play as we're just underway in Oklahoma City with the whiteout. Joe Delera joining us here, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. So the number for tomorrow is New York 4.5, 224, 225 on the total. Are you doing anything with the game?
I wasn't going to in this spot just because I'm a little bit more leveraged on my Knicks like futures. I have a couple Knicks futures from during the season, and then as like the Knicks homer that I am, when they were down 20 in game 1, I live bet them to win the title, and so got some good numbers there. But I do think that New York is going to be able to take care of business, but at the same time, New York has kind of struggled a little bit sometimes in these game 1s. They struggled to come out of the gate fast, so there might be a good live betting opportunity here. I don't want to back New York in game 1 against the spread, especially because they do play so many close games where you look at the game, the course of the entire game, and you go, New York should be ahead a little bit more, and they don't do it. Indiana also has been great at backdoor covering these games or getting into these games close late as well as New York. So I think it could be a tight game. I think we could see a lot of tight games in the series. And there's actually some bets out there for 1 overtime game or 2 overtime games in the series. Those are fun if you want to root for that over the course of the entire series, which I think is going to be tightly contested.
Go New York,
Right,
go
Joe.
New York, go. We need it,
Yeah.
Joe. Joe, we need to get to the finals. I still believe in this team. I believe in the mindset. I believe that they can take down either of these Western Conference teams in a series with their veterans.
It can happen. It can definitely happen. But obviously, Oklahoma City is so good that, if we go against Oklahoma City, we're going to be underdogs. But at the same time, we got nothing to lose. So I'm excited for the potential of that. But also a Cat Randall matchup, or a Cat Randall and DiVincenzo kind of matchup after the trade would really be something for NBA media to kind of get their teeth into.
Yeah, it would be. And Joe is good with the futures. What was the 100-1 you hit the last time we talked to you?
We got a little Peyton Pritchard, 100-1, 6th man of the year. So that was a preseason bet. That one was great to cash here.
Yeah, and the Nats a few years back. In that year that they won the World Series at 101, weren't they like 15-35 at one point? They were just a horrible baseball team.
Yeah.
Early.
They started off bad, and it was a lot of it too. I think it was the year right after Harper got traded or signed elsewhere. That was why I think that was part of why I did it. I was like, well, they still got like Juan Soto. They still have the pitching staff. They're going to be good. And that was quite the bet. That was a fun sweat early in my betting career.
Yeah, they still had Rendon. They still had Trey Turner. They still had a
Yep.
lot. They had Max Scherzer and Strasburg. They still had a lot of talent. That's a great point. Joe Delera, the Action Network NBA writer, at Joe Delera on Twitter. Go enjoy the basketball, Joe. Thanks for the time.
All right, thanks, fellas. Have a good one.
Okay, you too, buddy. So we've got plenty to do, and that's it for guest people. So Mike and the OC, we haven't booked him for the final hour, so we're going to be wide open. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. We'll come back and update you on the in-game number, and we do have an update in Raleigh with the Panthers and Hurricanes. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, let's get you updated on the in-game numbers, and then at the top of the hour, we'll transition, do some of the Soto stuff, find out why people are so pissed at Juan Soto and what's happening with that. Plenty to do in the final hour, but right now, Dustin, in-game, let's go ahead and update the T-Wolves at the Thunder. Timberwolves off to a good early start. We like this spot for Minnesota. I like the spot for Minnesota tonight, and I like the Thunder to win the series, just like Joe said. 16-11, 6:21 to play in the first. What's the in-game number there?
Yeah, numbers dropped just a little bit. Thunder laying 3.5. Your total is now 221 and a hook. And of note of what's gone on so far, very quickly, Rudy Gobert, 2 fouls right out of the gate. They had to take him off the floor. More Naz Reid. Feels like that's going to be a game plan for Oklahoma City in the series moving forward. Just try and get rid of that rim protection with Gobert, because he's obviously not involved in the offense at all for Minnesota. So if they can get him into foul trouble, get him away, it can open up the Thunder's offense.
Yeah, I mean, more Naz Reid. I would never be upset if I was a Minnesota fan and I saw more Naz Reid. I love the player.
Naz Reid's one of those dudes on the short list, Josh Hart, that can just play on my team. I don't care. Bobby Portis, like that. Those are the types of dudes that I want. He's a winning basketball player. He's not a defensive player of the year candidate like Gobert is. So you sacrifice from defense to get some offense. And right now the offense is working for Minnesota. Randall, 6 points. The first 5 points of the game were scored by Jaden McDaniels on a 3 and then a 2. And then Anthony Edwards has given them 5 points and 2 rebounds to start.
Yep. It's a tremendous start for Minnesota. Let's see if they can keep it going, because if they win this game, now we got a series. Now we got some juice.
Yeah.
In-game number, Panthers up 2-1 first intermission over the Hurricanes. Hurricanes got a late goal to make it interesting in the first period here.
Yeah, right now, Florida, you can lay 195 with them or catch plus 150 with Carolina at home. Puck line, minus 1.5 Florida, plus $1.45, plus 1.5 at minus 188 when it comes to the Canes. In-game total, 7.5.
There you have it. Yeah, that's jumped up. When we come back, Juan Soto. People are bitter, but why? It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. We had Samich on, we had Joe Delera on, and Samich, of course, has been handing out the winners, not just on the ice, but on the track. And you can check out those picks and all of the experts over at VSiN. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. Use the promo code SIRIUS. That's going to get you $19 through August 1st. You get the splits, you get the guides, the NFL guide, which is going to be dropping. So it's all there, vsin.com/subscribe. Promo code SIRIUS as we welcome you back. Oklahoma City has settled in a little bit here, and they do lead 17-16. Ant with a miss, a rebound. Oklahoma City, they did close 7 in this game. So we'll see. Nice little back and forth start to this one. We are at the first intermission in Carolina. Eastern Conference Finals open up in Carolina, 2-1. Florida jumped out to a 2-0 lead here in this hockey game, and then Carolina scored late in the first to make it interesting. So we shall keep you updated with the hockey. Of course, tomorrow you get the East underway in hockey with the West underway in hockey with the Oilers and Stars. Oilers favored in the series. Stars going to be favored $1.20-ish in that game tomorrow night. Of course, as Mike pointed out, the two best players in McDavid and Draisaitl with Edmonton. But then as you move along, the better players are on the Dallas team. Again, an Edmonton team that lost in the finals to Florida last year. And then tomorrow night, of course, you get underway in the East with the big guys, Knicks, hosting the Pacers. New York, who are favorites, $1.45 in the series, 4.5 on the game, 224 on the total. Joe Delera, who just joined us from Jersey and the Action Network, he is a big Knicks fan, and he's the first Knicks fan I heard so bullish on the Knicks in this series.
Yeah, I don't understand it completely. Like, I get why, but we're not seeing the why. Like, the reason is you believe that the vets, they're not going to be scared of the moment. They're healthy this year versus last year when they took on Indiana. And you believe in Jalen Brunson when it matters the most late in games. I think all of that can be very, very real. But the question is, what is the score when we get to that point in the games? Because I would tell you this, I think the mental fortitude of this Indiana team, I think, is a lot tougher than what we saw out of Boston the last couple of years. Boston kind of plays with their food. They go through the motions. I'm seeing stone cold killers for the Pacers. I don't think they're the type of team that's going to let up a 20-point lead to the Knicks. They were doing the opposite when they were taking on the Cavs. They had the miraculous comeback. They were the feisty team. So in this spot for the Knicks, who've been punching up, it felt like, against Boston for so long, now theoretically they're the favorite, so they're punching down. It's a role reversal, and I don't know how they'll answer.
Punching up, punching down, go New York, go New York, go. Hey. Who do you think? Who do you got? I think Indiana should be favored in the series. I think Indiana wins the series. 8-8 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646 as we open up hour number 3 here on VSiN Live. And can let you know, obviously, a lot of drama on the program. One, I didn't lead with the tush push, which I know is going to rankle some feathers. That's one thing I forgot to ask you about at the beginning of the program with my little bullet points there. Are you in line with my decision to not go? I'm uninspired by the tush push conversation. Maybe it's a blind spot for your boy. Where do you stand?
Yeah, the only tush I care about pushing is my girlfriends. Whatever they want to do with the rule, I'm good with.
Good opportunity to get that in there. I totally understand exactly what you're saying. That's you want to push on her ass. And the NFL is trying to figure out, should what the Eagles essentially perfected be outlawed? Again, I heard people, maybe it was the tail end of Tory's show. It's just an orchestrated or calculated way for the NFL to stay in the news. I didn't quite understand that. Can you help me understand that scheduling part of it?
We're talking about the tush push stuff. Well, they're doing their league vote. This is when they vote to do the rule changes. Apparently there's rules up for when it comes to the onside kick. Your Detroit Lions want to change the way they handle matchups in the postseason based on record. I don't know all the details of that one, but there's a bunch of things up for debate right now where they're going to vote. All the owners and everyone's going to get together and vote in their meetings. But the thing with the tush push is Green Bay's the one who came to the forefront and basically said we want it outlawed. And then all the Philly people get defensive and they're saying, well, why don't you find a way to stop it? Also, Philly's the only team that's perfected it. So those are the arguments going on surrounding the tush push, where now they're also doing one other thing. They're using player safety as a way to try and get it eliminated from the game, claiming players are more likely to have debilitating injuries, head injuries, running that play. So there's a lot going on with it. In the end, I think it's here to stay.
Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia certainly has an argument. As far as they're the team that's perfected it, it would be bitterness from others to try to eliminate it. But the way I look at the tush push on the field is the way I look at it in conversation. It's boring.
Yeah.
You see them lining up for the tush push, you're like, oh, this is the boring part of the game. Bottom line.
Yeah, I'd prefer to not watch it, but there's no part of me that feels like it's illegal.
Is it illegal? No. We'll move on from it. I absolutely think it should be banned because it just sucks.
Yeah, because it's boring. Because it hurts your
Yeah,
entertainment.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I don't care I don't care about the Eagles' feelings. This is entertainment. We should be entertained. That's less entertaining. Let's move on. They'll have the coaches figure out something else.
Okay, and now we put an asterisk. We put an asterisk next to the Eagles Super Bowl because they won it using the tush push.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? I don't really have much to respond to that because, 19-17 Minnesota does lead. So Oklahoma City kind of came storming back, and now Minnesota showing some mettle, showing a little fight. 2:12 to play in the first. 19-17 Minnesota does lead. Let me just see before we get to the calls if we are underway in the second period in Carolina. Nope, still first intermission. The Panthers lead 2-1. We are going to get into the Soto situation here in a bit, but let's first go Knicks Pacers with our buddy Chris in New Jersey. Hi, Chris. What's going on?
Gentlemen, Patrick, Dustin, good evening. How are you guys?
Good, Chris. What's going on?
Listen, I'm getting in my car. I'm leaving the Banya. I don't know if you know what a Banya is, but it's
The Banya. What's the Banya?
Bathroom?
No, Banya, B-A-N-Y-A. It's a Russian Turkish bath, like steam rooms, sauna.
Oh, I want details.
So I'm getting in my car. I've been going for 20 years, New York, here in New Jersey where I live. I get in my car. I'm relaxed. I'm comfortable. I'm going home. I'm going to see my daughters. They're going to drive me nuts, whatever. But I'm relaxed now. And all of a sudden, I hear casually, Pacers are going to win the series. Knicks are going to lose. And my entire evening of enjoyment is down the tubes. How can you guys casually say Pacers are winning the series?
Well, first off, I hope your daughters don't drive you crazy, and we drove you crazy. Dustin wanted details on a spa, apparently, and he didn't get them. He wanted details.
I want to try
spa,
out,
brother.
No, but the Russian bathhouse is like, what do they do there? I know it's just a bunch of it's like fat, naked guys sitting around a sauna, but I want more. I want like what else goes on in there. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I want to check it out. I like relaxation.
Okay. Yeah, they're big in New York. I know that. A lot of people used to go to them. Now, why we said casually that the Pacers...
We didn't say. You said. We didn't say.
You literally said you thought the Pacers were going to win the series.
Did I say that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You opened the show with it. I like the Pacers in the series.
I said I'm scared of the Pacers in this series.
I think I'll put it this way. Transition, Pacers advantage. Halliburton step up, Pacers advantage. Depth, Pacers advantage. Dismantled Cleveland. Okay, Cleveland was banged up. Cleveland was the best regular season basketball team outside in the East, obviously, and looked like a freaking wagon. They were not intimidated. They took care of business in Game 5, nonetheless, in Cleveland when they were down big early. Like the spirit of the team and a major coaching advantage to Carlisle. You add all that up, and then you also start talking about, Chris, I apologize, but my Pistons put the Knicks through the ringer. I wasn't impressed with the Knicks in that series, if we're just being frank. That shouldn't have been a tight series. The odds showed you that. Should have won in 4, should have won in 5, and they got pushed to the brink by the Pistons. Not great. And then you go, obviously, what happened with Boston in Game 5 showed me nothing, showed me no fight. And they are going up against a team in the Pacers that have a lot of fight in them. I like the Pacers in the series.
Look, I think this series comes down to one player, and that's Karl Anthony Towns. The Knicks are a different team when he plays like a superstar. You just don't know what version you're going to get because he likes to shoot those threes. He likes to live on the perimeter. He doesn't want to play tough. But when he does play tough, he is a different type of player. See, Miles Turner on the other side has issues defending Cat. Cat has put up monster numbers against the Pacers all season long. 30 points, 12 rebounds, average over 3 games against Indiana. They don't have an answer for him. If Cat's going to show up and play tough, the Knicks will win the series. The problem is with Cat is you don't know which version you're getting. That's why I'm scared of Indiana.
So you think the Knicks are going to win the series?
I think it comes down to Karl Anthony Towns.
Dude, you're literally
and the likelihood
National Sports Talk Radio, and you're not giving an answer?
Hold on. And the likelihood of Karl Anthony Towns doing what needs to get done is low. So I would side with the Pacers.
See, you just did the same thing I did. The Pacers are going to win this. I hate to say because trust me, I want the Knicks to win the series. I'll put it this way. Carlisle is a pretty brilliant coach. My assumption is, now you can't stop Jalen Brunson, but you can try to contain him. And Carlisle is going to throw the kitchen sink at him. Do you then trust a Karl Anthony Towns? Do you trust Anunoby to go off? Do you trust Bridges, who I believe you said, quote, was the worst basketball player you've ever seen? And do you trust a consistent offensive effort from Hart? The answer would be no.
No. And I'm very scared of those bench minutes and the attrition that comes, another series playing deeper into the season. And I know everyone's now on the other side of the Tibbs argument about him playing his players, but the reality is this is the part of the calendar where that could start to show itself. And for Indiana, they'll go to a bench with guys who can get it done. Mathurin, Toppin, McConnell, Shepard, all those guys capable of filling in for someone, and there's limited drop-off. The Knicks bench is Mitchell Robinson and Deuce McBride. Maybe Precious Achiuwa, but that's it. You're not getting a lot of production out of the bench. So when the Knicks have to rest a lot of their key guys and Indiana's going to that unit that's really good at stepping up, I have a lot of concerns of how that shows itself throughout the series.
It sounds like somebody that's heavy on the Pacers.
I don't want to be, though. I don't want to go against the Knicks because I think a lot of what the Knicks do can't be quantified or qualified. I don't know which version of that word I'm supposed to use in this spot, but I think a lot of what they do is just like gut check, clutchness, Jalen Brunson showing up when you need him the most. And I don't have a way to like give you information that backs up that theory.
Correct. But Chris, to continue on Chris's bewilderment, the clutch performer in the postseason thus far has been Halliburton.
Tyrese Halliburton should terrify Knicks fans. One, he's a guy that they passed on in the draft for Obi Toppin. That's for starters. But secondly, he is going to be so active on the offensive end. These dudes are going to be gassed by the end of each game. I don't know if those fourth quarter comebacks are going to be capable because Indiana's pushing you to your limits. They defend you at 94 feet, but they also, as soon as they have the ball in their hands, they're going. And the Knicks can't play that style of basketball up and down. And Halliburton thrives in it. He thrives in that chaos.
I like the fact that we went from Patrick said it to you now convincing me and the rest of America why the Pacers are going to win the series. That is
wrong, but everything I have says Indiana wins the series. I just want to be wrong. I want the Knicks to go to the finals.
Like, for me, it's a no-brainer. You take the 4.5 with the Pacers tomorrow. It feels at least we could admit the unquantifiable aspects of the Knicks that you are trying to point to, which I agree. There's something to this team. There is also something to the team where a game 1 Eastern Conference Finals, Madison Square Garden, where they just lay an egg.
Yeah,
they're very capable of doing that. They lost 2 at home, didn't they, to Detroit?
Yeah, but they're also a team that likes to play the comeback game. They like to sit around and feel the other team out and then come back down 20. I don't know if you can do that with Indiana, who's going to be scoring at a rapid rate. I'd also point out, I just saw Anthony Edwards going to the locker room limping with an injury. So we will keep you updated as information comes out about that. Because
all right, what's the in-game number? This might be the time to jump on Oklahoma City if Anthony Edwards is banged up.
Yeah, Minnesota's up 23-20 in the second. Oklahoma City, however, is still the favorite. They're -4.5. Total has dropped down to 206 and a hook.
And a hook. Half a point there. Okay, so there it is. What is this? NBA playoffs. Tim Legler, Ryan Rucco, and Kirk Goldsberry doing like a round table insight cast on YouTube. What is that? What are those?
I guess it's an alternate broadcast. They're going head to head with us on YouTube, though. I don't appreciate that.
Yeah, no, YouTube definitely more popular at VSiN Live, as it should be.
Yeah.
So a big Pacers guy, old D. Swedelson.
I'm not, but I do. I really like them. I think they're a really good team, and I don't think what they did to Cleveland was a fluke at all. They hit him in the mouth.
All right, let's see what our buddy Tony in Dallas thinks about the Final Four here, NBA style. Hi, Tony.
So you guys are on the right path. I would like to preface by saying I took Minnesota when they beat in after Game 3 against the Lakers. I jumped on Minnesota to go to the NBA Finals, and I got Minnesota at plus 850. I think they were at that point. So I am a big fan of Minnesota. I think if you compare Minnesota and Indiana, and everything the big guy pretty much said about Indiana is correct, but the biggest thing that I see with Indiana is Indiana ran it back. Like, Indiana did not make any changes. If you recall, at the trade deadline, Miles Turner thought he was gone. And a lot of people actually thought he was coming to Dallas since he's a local product. But Indiana decided to run it back. And Indiana, other than Karl Anthony Towns, which you guys are right, he does, that does give Indiana some issues because Indiana is not big down low, but they are just extremely, they can defend well on the wings and on the perimeter. And that is something just the Knicks cannot do. The Knicks cannot defend the wing. Even when they try to switch, they could never defend Tatum. They could never defend Brown when he decided to take it to the rack. And obviously Brunson and Bridges is okay sometimes at points, but you can go hunting on Brunson. And that is one thing that I think Indiana, with Rick Carlisle and the way that they defend and the bench, I think Nembhard is clearly a better player this year than he was last year. He is not a fluke. And I just think that the way that Carlisle runs that team, they're good on the road and at home. They're going to run. The Knicks like to run, but Indiana likes to run as well. I think Indiana is the best team, arguably pound for pound, that is left, only because I still don't trust OKC if SGA is held in check in the fourth. And I do think that Minnesota still needs a little bit more experience with Anthony Edwards. I think he likes to, do the step back a little too much, goes for the kill shot. But I just think Indiana going forward is an excellent play to win the whole thing.
Okay. I'll just put it in. Maybe you can find a price for me. I'm going to stand on this. Pacers in 5.
Whoa.
Pacers in 5, big guy.
Hold on.
The more we're talking about this, Brunson stinks. Like, Brunson's amazing, but he's not a great defender. If he has to exert anything defensively, what is he going to give him offensively? Carla's going to have him in handcuffs.
You're the biggest Brunson guy in the world, and now you're going against it?
Hey, hate the matchup for the Knicks.
Indiana wins 4-1. That would be 5 is 8-1.
That's not that great.
And I thought it'd be a little bit bigger.
It's not as heavy as I thought. That should scare you if you're a Knicks fan.
Pacers are your longest shot to win the title right now at 6-1.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
bet
Minnesota
that.
For some reason.
Minnesota was 550 before the game. Now they're 5-1.
As it's tied 24-24. Anthony, is Edwards back out there? No.
No, I don't see an update. So he rolled his ankle, someone said. That's the only report I've seen.
I'll tell you when my Pacers in 5 prediction is going to look real good when they steal game 1 tomorrow night.
Well, no, I do think that is very real. I think there's an element of the Knicks coming off that Boston series where they're just like mentally and physically exhausted. There is a spot, I think, where Indiana comes out, sends it, because that team went into Madison Square last year, wasn't scared. They're going back again. Go back in history. The Pacers always play well there. Got Reggie Miller on the call for TNT. I don't even know how that's allowed, but that's going to add a little bit more juice for Indiana. I think they have a very good chance going in and stealing game 1. I agree with that.
Yeah, I really like them in game 1. The Pacers tomorrow night catching the 4.5. And I don't know. I love them in the series. The more we're talking about this, you actually sealed the deal for me. Expecting anything from Karl Anthony Towns. Are you kidding me? And then we talk about him, being a center, but playing like a big. That's just not in his DNA. He'll have a game where he grabs 14 boards and Knicks fans are rejoicing, and then he'll turn back into a pumpkin.
Yeah, he plays like someone who hates himself. He wants to prove he's something other than what he is. What he is a dominant force down low. He has great touch at the rim. He can do everything. He's good on the glass. He has great moves in the post. But what he so desperately wants to be, he wants to be a 6'6" wing who just hoists it up. He wants to be Michael Porter Jr. That's the problem. If he just is Karl Anthony Towns, he's an absolute mismatch against just about any other big.
I'll take it a step further. Karl Anthony Towns wants to be Steph Curry.
Yeah, okay.
He literally wants to handle the ball. He wants to shoot long threes. He's just, and as we say that, Randall just hit a 3. Randall is playing well here against Oklahoma City. So the juxtaposition, and you mentioned it. I forgot the Obi Toppin revenge angle. Ooh, add that to the mix.
Obi Toppin's a guy the Knicks just never figured out how to use properly, and he's awesome energy off the bench for the Pacers. That bench for Indiana is going to be one of the X factors. It goes Karl Anthony Towns, then because TJ McConnell gives them fits too. McConnell's been wearing out the Knicks for years. That guy's an issue. Matherin's healthy this year. Like, they have a whole second unit that can there is no drop off.
The more you talk about this series, Pacers in 4.
I want to be wrong. I don't want to be right. I'm a Knicks fan. I want the Knicks to win, but the Knicks have gotten outplayed just about every quarter of this series outside of a couple fourth quarters.
Here's Randall with a 3 attempt, and it's good. Julius Randle with another 3. Minnesota leads 30-27 with no Anthony Edwards. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, I did bet Randall to be finals MVP at 25-1 today. So I believe in Minnesota more than I believe in the Knicks.
All right. 7:17 to play. It's a 1-point game. Minnesota leads 30-29. So we'll keep you updated on that one. We do have an update on the ice as well here. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, as the Panthers. They are the better team. They were dogs in this one. They were in a tough travel spot. However, that hasn't mattered. They lead 3-1 over the Hurricanes, 13:58 to play there in the second.
So much for Anderson being a hot goaltender coming into this thing, and Florida being a little bit tired coming off that game 7. Man, they may not be able to be stopped.
The Panthers are relentless. So I would be surprised if they gave up this lead here. We will follow along with it as we continue. All right, so a lot of basketball. When we come back, we're going to talk about some baseball as there's Juan Soto drama. He seems like a nice kid, mild temperament. He's got a lot of people pissed off. He had Steve Torrey pissed off. It takes a lot to piss off Steve Torrey. Juan Soto did that. The Bronx is burning. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Getting killed in South American soccer. That's all I know. Minnesota up 33-31. 6:05 to play here in the second in Oklahoma City. See if Oklahoma City tires in the second half after that game on Sunday. And then conversely, you got the Panthers up 3-1 on the Hurricanes right now. The NBA Conference Finals, of course, are underway, and you can catch our post-game show on SiriusXM, NBA XM, I should say. NBA Radio, Channel 86. Join us right after Game 1 between the T-Wolves and the Thunder for expert analysis, instant reaction, and all the biggest highlights. It's all happening tonight after Minnesota versus Oklahoma City on Channel 86 in your car or wherever you are on the SiriusXM app. We are going to get into the soda stuff. I want to talk to Twizzy here, but just quickly, we can just throw this out, how you would handle this. Like this, just put yourself in our shoes. And maybe it means that we're horrible people. We know Naya is not a horrible person. But you guys have heard me mention Jacob. So Jacob he's interesting. He's a producer at Mad Dog Sports Radio and SiriusXM. He does a job. He's chirpy. Likes to talk. He's a good kid. I'm mostly afraid of him, so I stay on his good side. If there's like odds on people that I think potentially could murder me, he's definitely at the top of the list. But he shares a lot of information. He shares like about hookups and all this kind of stuff. I'm hanging out today, and I'm literally minding my own business. It's what I do. And I get a text. Hey, fellas, it looks like I'm not going to be able to be working with you tomorrow. Okay. I'm not sure why you're telling me it, but whatever. And then goes on to say, my mom told me that my grandma could be admitted to the hospital. Now, I was gobsmacked. I looked at the text and I just went, I don't know what to say to that. I don't want to get into a dialogue with somebody about a grandma. I don't even know Jacob. To be fair, I don't know him. Like him. He works with us.
He entertains you.
He entertains me. He's super weird. He's super wild. The stories are funny. And then I go on at 7 p.m. my time and forget the show even happened. And then I start the next day and do it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just being honest, people. He copy and pasted the same message and sent it to Naya, who's generally our pretty consistent producer in New York City. She's amazing. And she hit him with my condolences. Now, to be fair, Naya actually has seen the kid in person.
Yeah.
And, so maybe if I had ever done that, I would hit him with my condolences too. But does it make Dustin and I horrible people that we both just ignored the text?
Yeah, and I meant to say something. The problem, I just didn't know what I was supposed to say. So sometimes, like, I know for the most part, people know I'm not really an adult, even though I'm 40. But in a lot of these instances, I don't know what I'm supposed to do or say. I was hoping you would reply, and then I could just piggyback on what you said.
No, I didn't reply. But here's the other thing. Literally, the host of this show, I could or could not have family going through stuff. I don't even say it. I don't even talk it about myself. Why would I be? That's his grandma.
We know too much.
Moral of the story, we're horrible people. But at the same time, he's horrible for putting us in that position.
Also, both my grandmas are dead. Way to shove it in my face that yours isn't.
Hey, that's another way of looking at it. Godspeed to your grandmother.
Prayers.
Like, circle of life.
I always wonder about replying thoughts and prayers to people when I don't believe that does. It obviously doesn't do anything. So I don't know what to do with that spot.
Look, texting is hard. Texting has become the phone call. It's that intimate. So if somebody's texting me in 2025, I expect it to be pretty serious. It's an intimate thing, I can
be objective here and say that we're probably bad people in this situation.
No, I'll give us credit. I think we're normal. Now, if I'm Naya, who sees him, then of course I'd have to hit it, because if I see him again, I'd be the person that didn't hit him with my condolences. Obviously, I'm smart enough to do that.
And he definitely keeps tabs of who did and didn't reply.
But here's the thing about human beings. You can't care about people you don't care about. And even Naya, who knows Jacob, my assumption is she doesn't know Jacob's grandmother.
No, but
So
it's
why
like,
would you force Naya to care about your grandmother?
No, it's tough. Look, you put everyone in a tough spot. Everyone's in a tough situation, but it is a thing where it's like between the lines, like in a sporting event, you're supposed to care about your teammate. It is a situation where we probably care about our teammate in this situation.
Why are you trying to make me feel bad? You didn't even reply.
Yeah, no, I'm going through a lot right now. I'm going through a lot of looking in the mirror of like doing the wrong thing over and over again. And most of it involves texting people.
Yep. The drama with Eric Lindquist. That's a tough nut to swallow too. There's no need to joke about it. It's just a figure of speech. It's just sometimes you can let something go. You know what I'm saying?
Nut to crack.
Tough nut to swallow. Nuts sometimes can get a little chalky.
Extra.
If we're being fair. All right. So Mike in the OC called earlier with some advice for Dustin and said, less guests, more callers. And then he jumped right over the callers and said, no, I'm kidding. Just book me as a guest. So, and then also mentioned the May 31st meet and greet in my neighborhood here, Hermosa, at the Hennessy's. Now, what started off as a meet and greet with people flying in from all over the country, we learned it was basically Mike and his wife.
It was. Yeah.
And I like Mike. But how could I give up a Saturday? Saturdays are precious.
Well, what makes it a little tougher is you were open to this when you thought it was a planned out event. You were willing to break your mold of being a hermit and staying in your house. You were open to the opportunity to hang out with some people and be social, which is just not what you do. And then you got the details, and the details were there are no details.
Well, he said that Michelle and Beadle or Cody and Decker or whatever the show, he said that those two are going to be there. And immediately, first off, those are my colleagues. Okay, it'd be nice to meet them. They just got a lot of energy, and I don't know if on a Saturday I can handle all that.
Well, also you're at a bar, so you're doing downers, right? Alcohol's a downer, bring you down. They're up. Tough to match them at that point.
And the reason I brought all this up is because Twizzy is literally just a friend. If Twizzy hit me up and was like, you want to grab a beer or whatever, I would. And he's calling now, so I'm curious, is he planning on going there May 31st? Because then I probably will, I'll go. So let's see. Twizzy in Los Angeles. Twizzy, can you help me out with this little scenario here?
Man, okay, yeah. Look, I was looking for some answers myself because at first I thought this was like a Sirius XM thing, like you guys planned it out at first.
Right.
And then I heard it was a different listener who planned it out. And then I remember I was on, I'm always listening. And when Mike only could say Twizzy was going to go and me, and like you said immediately, that sounds like three people, I'm out.
No. You know, we're friends. It's not about you. It's the way he presented it. And then he turned it into, it's not even really a meetup.
Well, see, and that happened. So I asked Decker and Beetle myself. They said they were going to be there. Now, this is big because on the same day, the Yankees and the Dodgers are playing. You see what I'm saying here? I know you guys are picking up what I'm laying down here on that one. So who wants to give up a Saturday to hang with my guy, Mike in the OC, who, hey, I'm on your side of the 50. Patrick?
Yeah, I like the guy. We like the guy.
I'm on your side of the 50, but I understand the other side of the 50. So,
no, I do too. I assure you. By the way, if you go, I'm going to go. So I'll just say that very clearly. If Twizzy is there, I'm going to go. Okay? That's
I was gonna drag my wife out there. Now, see, she asked me to go to the beach this weekend. So that's going to be back-to-back weekends at the beach, and I don't know if I can handle that. So
you don't have fair skin though. To be fair, you could handle the sun rays. No.
Well, I mean, yeah, but do you really want to waste 2 Saturdays in a row at the beach? I mean, when you live in California, you don't really go to the beach. You know what I mean?
That's fair, but I would like to meet your wife. So if you two end up going, then I'm going to go. Now, I guess Beetle and Decker are going to go. So it's now turning into something a little bit more than I thought, Twiz.
Yeah, but you guys are having to organize the hangout that you were invited to.
That's
Something's off about that.
Mike's got us doing the legwork, Twizzy. That's
Yeah.
not what we want. That's not what we signed up for here.
You got a point there. He's going to owe us since he's putting himself in the mix as a Sirius XM employee. We're going to garner some of his wages.
Oh, anyway, you got anything on sports for us here, Twiz?
Man, you know what? You guys are right with Indiana. I'm right there with you, and I think that I get the what's the little point, Jalen Brunson. I get Brunson his how exciting he is, how clutch he can be, but I think he's a bit overrated. I think their team is a bit overrated overall, and I think player for player, Indiana is just a better team that's deeper with guys that also have that dog in them. Just like Tony said, they ran it back from last year, and last year they got an injury that kind of they can look at and lean on and be like, yeah, we're not going to make that an excuse, externally, but internally we know what happened, so we coming for them this time.
Yeah, well, listen, you let me know. Keep me updated if you're going to be there on May 31st. I fell in love with Brunson last year in the postseason and when everybody was injured, and my man just was absolutely unconscious, just alpha. And I like the Knicks. And I didn't care about the Knicks when I lived there. But now I'm all in. But I just don't like the matchup. I don't know how else to say it. I like Indiana in the series, and I like them in 5.
Now, I also know you don't like conspiracy theories, but when you look at the West, we're locked in. We're either going to have the market of Minnesota or the market of Oklahoma City. You don't think there's a world where the Knicks get a beneficial whistle where at least there's one big market appearing in the NBA Finals?
That's interesting. You think Adam Silver might say, I got Minnesota and Oklahoma City battling it out west. I need Broadway.
Yeah, I need the number one market. I need a team that people care about on a national level where, look, I like Indiana as a basketball team. If we're talking purely X's and O's, sure. But if we're going to talk about exposure, making money, and Adam Silver's got to answer to everyone here because all the league revenue share, they've got to maximize the NBA Finals. If they get the market of Indiana taking on the market of Oklahoma City, it's going to be an awesome matchup, but no one's going to watch it.
Yeah, that is a big woof. For sure. Speaking of woof, the start for Soto's career in a Mets jersey hasn't been exactly what you had hoped for. And there's been a lot coming out. For example, the fact that Soto apparently has admitted the Red Sox were at the top of his list during free agency in the sweepstakes. The Mets decided they could pony up $765 million, so he moved from the Bronx to Queens, and now he's a Met. He went back to the Bronx where he hit a bunch of bombs, and the Yankees took care of business over the weekend. And Mendoza, the manager, I think we're going to hear from him. He's got his hands full because the lead story on ESPN today was he's going to talk to him because of his lack of hustle. And you said, quote, at the beginning of the show, everybody's idiots. Everyone is stupid the way they're handling the Soto conversation.
Yeah. Everyone's stuck on all this talk about other teams and his family wanting him to be a Yankee, and he didn't want to leave the Yankees, but he chose the money and he's a mercenary. All that's irrelevant. Like, all that is just hearsay and gossip coming out of random people like Michael Kay, who has an agenda as a Yankee employee. Bob Clappish covered the team for years. I don't know who his source is in Mets hierarchy. It's Steve Cohen and his wife. They are the Mets hierarchy. So unless they're the source, I don't know who is giving up information about Juan Soto. Also hearing people talk about Juan Soto's not a leader in the clubhouse. Just because you're the highest paid player on the team doesn't mean you have to be the vocal leader of the team. You can just be the best player. The issue with Juan Soto, and if everyone wants to discuss what the actual issue is, it's that he hasn't lived up to that contract thus far. And 2 examples of it happened in the last couple days. One on Sunday Night Baseball, he half swings at a ball. He thinks it's going up the middle. DJ LeMahieu makes a great play on it, throws him out. He's not hustling down the line. Then last night in Boston, he hits a ball that he thinks is going over the green monster. It doesn't make it out. It should have been a double. He's held it first for a single. Those are absolutely fair criticisms. But all this off the field nonsense about Juan Soto should have been a Yankee, wanted to be a Yankee. Guess what? He's not a Yankee. And it's all Yankee fans perpetrating all these rumors and all this nonsense about him that he should stay in the Bronx. He didn't. You have to get over it. I think the biggest thing for Yankee fans is they can't come to grips with the fact that a guy said, I'd rather be on the other side of town, and they didn't have any control of how it went down.
But why are you just assuming that that Clappish guy is just making things up?
Because everyone's, I'm saying who is the source? How high up in the Mets is this person? That is my question when it comes to all of this. Because we're not even at Memorial Day. If there's a person in the Mets front office who is genuinely questioning the Juan Soto attitude with the signing that he had over the offseason, I would question that person's role in the organization, because we're just a couple months into this thing.
I think the problem is the price tag, because he got paid as the best player in baseball and he's not that. And so the expectation,
that's fair.
You see what I'm saying?
No, all that stuff is perfectly fair. He put a target on his back. When you go and you want max dollar and you're not given a penny back, you put a target on your back for criticism. All that stuff, totally understand. The lack of hustle, totally understand. The lack of production, totally understand. But Juan Soto is a boring baseball player. At the end of the year, you're going to look up. You're going to look up at his stat line. You're going to go, he hit 280. He had 28 homers. He drove in 110. He scored 100, and he had like a 400 on base percentage. He's not there yet. He's going to heat up. I'd also say the effect that everyone says Aaron Judge had on him, he's having on Pete Alonso, who's hitting 300 for the first time, and I can't even remember in his career. Lindor's been hitting the ball well right out of the gate, where normally he's a slow starter. So I think Juan Soto has had an impact on the Mets lineup as well that's made everyone around him a little bit better.
Yeah, we joked about it when he signed with your Mets. I'm like, congratulations, you get to watch the longest, most boring at-bats of all time. And that's what makes him that's part of his brilliance, is that he is very patient. And maybe the on-base isn't what you would hope for so far, but as you mentioned, it's so early. He's got plenty of time. But he's not an overly exciting baseball player. And I think maybe Mets fans didn't watch a ton of him and people are getting bitter. I don't know. But what you said is true. He said that the Red Sox were right up there as far as the team he wanted to go to. The Red Sox offered Soto 15 years, $700 million, and he took the $765 million. The idea, in my opinion, and I'm not getting in people's pockets, but the idea that you would go to a team you lesser preferred from $700 million to $765 million is legit insanity.
Well, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And there's a lot of assumptions in that. I don't. At the end of the day, with these baseball
he took
guys,
the most money. We know that. He said he's going to take the most money.
But how often do we find out players don't take the most money? One out of every 500?
No. I'm just giving my personal, if you wanted to live in Boston and you wanted to go play for Boston and you chose the Mets because of 65 extra million on top of 700, you got to get different advisors, would be my opinion.
That's totally fair. But the reports from Clappish saying that he's downright miserable and that the weekend series in the Bronx broke him, I don't know the validity of that. Now, one other thing I would add that I think is worth criticism, he was supposed to be the mic'd up player on Sunday Night Baseball for ESPN. He backed out at the last minute. Brandon Nimmo had to take over. That's a bad look.
That's not a great look.
That might be the worst look of all the things we're discussing. But the stuff about he doesn't want to be a Met, he's not a leader in the clubhouse, he's not fitting in, he doesn't have the enthusiasm they're looking for. We're so early into this thing. Can we get to the summer before we start to have some of this talk? And oh, by the way, the Mets have the same record as the Dodgers. The Mets are a half game out of first in the East. They have one of the best records in baseball. The team has been playing very, very well without his production. I think all this stuff is just a lot of ways to tear down the Mets while they're on top.
You feel like people
when the team that you can kick down all the time is doing well. They're normally the butt of the joke. They're playing well. The superstar isn't doing much. So now there's a way to go at them by criticizing him. And some of it's fair, but to me, a lot of it sounds like a lot of like rumors and gossip. That's all.
And that's where the quote, everyone is stupid, comes from about the Soto stuff. Yeah, he'll end up, his numbers will be fine. You're still going to, it's watching paint dry. Mets fans, for the next 10, 12, whatever year he signed, you get ready because it's boring. That's all. He's a great baseball player. He's not the best baseball player in the game.
And Yankee fans need to get over that he chose not to be on your team anymore. I don't know how many times you have to watch him play in another uniform, but you have to get over it. He was yours for a year. He chose to go to the other team in New York. It's going to be okay.
Literally forgot that he was a Padre.
That was a year too. A year, 2 years, something like that.
No, he half a year, and then he played one full year for the Padres.
That's right. That's right.
But
by the way, Nat's doing well in that trade. Mackenzie Gore, CJ Abrams, and I believe James Wood ended up being who they took in that deal, I believe.
When we return, you'll hear from the manager of the Mets. Guessing 8 out of 10 people listening don't know who that is, but his name is Carlos Mendoza, and he's talking about Soto next. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, halftime score in Oklahoma City. The T-Wolves, Anthony Edwards is back. He did go off the court for a bit, but he is back. T-Wolves lead by 4, 48-44, low scoring first half, not unexpected there. I'm looking at a second half number right now. You said you saw 6.5. I'm showing 7. Oklahoma City 7 in the second half, 107.5 on the total.
Yeah. So look, Oklahoma City offensively, you figure they're going to get right. But Minnesota's done this, as you mentioned, mostly without Anthony Edwards on the floor for a good chunk of that first half. He has 13, 5 boards, and an assist. Randall went absolutely nuts. Imagine the adjustment coming for the Thunder and trying to limit Randall. And if Edwards is okay, I still think he has opportunities to go off here. For Oklahoma City, it's SGA. He's only got 11 at the break. He's a guy who's averaging well over 30 for the postseason right now. I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of him getting to the free throw line in the second half, 7 of 9 to open things up in the opening half. But I think they get him to the line consistently. He builds up the points that way. That's what I expect out of the rest of this game.
All right, let's hear from Mendoza. So you want to set this up talking about Soto, Mets manager?
Yes, this was last night after Soto, had the issue in the Bronx where he didn't run out and a hit to LeMahieu that robbed him of a hit, threw him out at first base. He wasn't running down the line. He probably would have been safe if he was running. And then last night in Boston, he hit one off the green monster and was held to a single because he thought it was a home run and was jogging. This is Mets manager Carlos Mendoza discussing what went on with Soto.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll talk to him about it. Tonight, obviously, someone gets a hold of one and knows when he gets it, he's one, and he thought he had it, but with the win and all that. And in this ballpark, or anywhere, but in particular in this one, with that wall right there, you got to get out of the box. So yeah, we'll discuss that.
He's basically like, Soto's a pain in my ass right now.
He's like, these are questions I didn't want to have to be answering about
I
my.
can't believe I'm having this conversation about a guy that's getting paid $765 million.
Didn't it sound like he caught himself too? At first he was like, yeah, we'll talk to him about it. And then he was like, well, but Soto thought he had, you know what I mean? It's getting a little weird flip-flopping in the middle there, realizing he can't throw his star player under the bus completely.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that, look, he is. It's enough to ask him to hustle if you're getting paid $765 million. Not trying to be the get off my lawn guy, but run, dude.
I think all that's completely fair. All of that stuff totally on the table. You want to critique. He needs. I understand the LeMahieu one a little bit more. He half swung. He thought it was a single up the middle. But you can't do it a second time. You can't do it twice in 2 days. The second one in Boston is way more egregious because now we at least had it happen once before.
Yep. Panthers second intermission up 3-1 over the Hurricanes. So they add one in the second. The Hurricanes do nothing at home in the second. So we shall see. Panthers are going to be huge series favorites coming out of that one. Thank you to Joe Delera. Thank you to Mike Somich. Naya, thank you. Ryan Smith, thank you. We'll see what happens with Eric Lindquist. I mean, it has taken over the program. It's a good job by the big guy. We'll see you tomorrow. VSiN Live. It's Mad Dog Sports Radio.
On Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.